gents, and welcome to episode 205 of the Strompcast. We've got a Derby Day episode for you with some special guests. But before I introduce him, let me introduce my co-host. First, got Chris. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing better than I was doing Sunday. I've had a few days to kind of process it. I was still in shambles yesterday, to be fair. But today, a little bit better. I guess it's a well-timed international break, to be fair for once. Yeah. But yeah, other than that, I'm doing all right.
Yeah, nice. Danny, how you doing today, man?
Low-key, that's a fucked up question, brother. No, but I'm kidding. I'm doing good. I'm doing better. Same with Chris, Sunday, the Malone was in full effect. I embraced it. I understood it was there, and I embraced it. Also a little bit under the influence, so that didn't help either. But feeling better today, ready to talk about it. Also, let me just give a quick shout out. I recorded yesterday the Portugal corner. It just came out prior to this podcast. So once you're done listening to us, go have a listen to the Portugal corner.
Yeah, definitely. And Richard, man, to ask the same question. How are you doing today?
How dare you? I'm all right. I'm doing better today than I was on Sunday. I was driving 3 hours after watching my hockey team lose on Sunday. I had to listen to the game without Halatu. And for the folks at home, if you want to know how rough my arrival home was, I pull onto my street, Benfica scores. I walk into my door. I walk into the house. I'm in the house for 2 seconds. I hear my vovoo and my dad both cursing. I'm like, please don't tell me they scored again. And I walk downstairs, 2-1. I'm like, fuck this. So a bit of a rough one, but I'm doing better today. In what will be probably a group therapy session for some of us.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like you're the bad luck charm. So you put onto the drive, Benfica score. So basically, if you didn't go home,
if I stayed on the highway, because they were doing great until I basically pulled off the highway. That's what it was. They were doing
if that traffic lasted a bit longer.
Exactly.
If that slowdown in Brock Vegas lasted a little bit longer, I could have, would have been okay.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, we've got a special guest. I'll start off with Sergio. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing fantastic, actually. Thank you for asking. I have never been better, especially considering I wasn't even expecting to feel this well after watching 92 minutes of garbage. So thank you for asking. I'm feeling great.
I wonder why.
Why. But
really, you've never felt better?
After winning the title last year, of course.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting feeling. I mean, it's not often that you come back and score 2 goals in 2 minutes at the end of the game. That's typically reserved for teams with horseshoes up their ass, like Porto. But I felt good. I felt good after that game. But we'll probably talk about it a little bit today in this podcast. We were a little lucky. Let's just be honest. You'll know after this podcast. I'm more of an even team Benfica. I'm a little bit more of a realist. So, I think a lot of people understand that if you're watching football, you understand what happened on Sunday. And, a lot of people put up rose-colored glasses and they go red-colored glasses and think, oh, everything's fantastic. No, there's a lot of shit that needs to happen with Benfica, which we can dive into a little bit later. So,
yeah, most definitely. And last but not least, we got one of the OGs of the podcasting game, the one that introduced me to podcast in general, to be fair. It's Peter. How you doing today, man?
Hey, thanks for having me, Sam, Danny, Richard, Christian. Yeah, I'll, had a bad string of luck in the final 10 minutes or so of last game. But I'm doing good. I can't complain, obviously. I had to switch over back to my PC because my phone just wasn't handling so much information at the same time. So I had a little bit of issue to start this, but I'm good and ready to go.
From 200 and something episodes, we know StreamYard can be difficult at times, so it's definitely nothing you've done, so don't worry. But yeah, and also just before we move on, we've managed to hit 10,000 followers on Twitter/X. If you want to try to make it 20,000, make sure you follow us there in the bottom left as well. Yeah, optimism and always in a dark time. Let's be optimistic about other things.
Sporting fans, all we have left is our optimism.
All we have left is our Twitter followers, man. So
You better
So-
do a giveaway. And I better
Optimism
win.
and futsal. Optimism and
Optimism and
futsal.
yeah,
Right? So
yeah,
you always have
True.
futsal.
True.
that is very true. But yeah, without further ado, we'll go to obviously the game we're all here for, the most important one of the weekend. And that was Sporting 2, Corvilla 2, Sporting B, should I say? You know,
There we go. I was ready for something like this. I'm not gonna
I was
lie.
waiting.
The most important game, definitely. You know what I mean? I thought it was this one as well. Yeah. Can I start with this game? I thought Sporting played really well.
Going on.
who's your man of the match, Danny? Go on.
Anyways,
But no,
How do you tie or keep a big? Or sorry, how did you keep a big, tie or keep a sit? Like, how does that work?
yeah, yeah, it's tough.
These parts.
just sporting all over, I suppose. But yeah, it was a 2-1 loss, or in Sergio and Peter's case, a 2-1 win for Benfica at least. And the lineups were as followed: Dan in goal, Inacio getting sent off, Coates, Diamande, Esgai, Mateus Reis, Morita, Hjulmand, Edwards, Pedro Gonçalves, and Yoquez. For Benfica, Trubin, Morato, Otamendi, Antonio Silva, Ozones, João Mario, João Neves, Florentino, Di Maria, Rafa, and Musa. Peter, I'll start with you since you're the guest. I'll let you go first. What were your overall thoughts on a Benfica perspective, on a Sporting perspective, and most importantly, the refereeing perspective of the game?
Okay. Well, I texted you some of my thoughts so I could write a couple of notes down before they started. I was surprised by the first 25 minutes or so because I thought that Sporting basically didn't exist for those first 25 minutes. We created two clear chances, the half a miss of the Musa assist, then the crossbar shot, and then also that half cross, half shot by João Mario in the 23rd minute. Afterwards, though, as soon as I'm starting to text you, it feels like the game completely changes, and Sporting finally seems to understand what Benfica is doing well, and they're able to counter that. You guys get a couple of big chances. My chance of the game, at least, in my opinion, Pot being denied by Trubin 1-on-1. That to me is one of the plays of the game, if not the play of the game. After that chance, though, it kind of evens out a little bit. No team really gains any kind of control, and then João Mario decides to be a complete dumbass as he's been the entire game, and he he loses the ball, and Gyökeres has a good goal. I mean, I can't really say much about it. I thought that at halftime, I was happy with how Morato was playing at left back, but I was a little bit worried because he drifted back inside quite often, back to his sort of left center back position. So that was worrying. And the midfield at times looks like they have left a lot of open holes. And I also didn't feel like Benfica had the need to do as many long balls as they did. They just kept putting the ball forward for no apparent reason because Sporting was pressing high, but they were pressing the center backs. The midfielders had freedom to play, so I didn't really understand that. I also remember texting you that João Mario and Di Maria were being completely useless, but I also do remember saying that Di Maria can still spark magic at any moment, and of course he was very important after. In terms of the second half, I mean it's a completely different game because of of Inacio being sent off. I think that's the correct call. I also don't understand how he lets the play go on, by the way, because that's simply not a rule. If it's a second yellow, he has to call the foul and send him off.
No, I think it is. You can play an advantage on a second yellow, especially if it's a goal scoring opportunity, which it was. Yeah, you can.
Okay, it's a little bit debatable, but
I only say that because I said the same as you and my dad.
Avila is one of the. It's like a handshake agreement. Yeah, it's not. It's not technically.
It's not like in the rule book, but it's like unofficially in the rule book.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody really complained about it, so I guess we shouldn't either. So if the players didn't feel like it was unfair, then I guess we shouldn't either. Afterwards, nothing happened. It took until the 61st minute for us to have a shot, and it was João Mario having a great shot on goal that Adan made a really, really nice save. And at that point, I felt like we should have subbed off Morato for Jurasek. I know that so a lot of Benfica fans don't like Jurasek. I'm not so much of a hater, honestly, because going back to the Boavista game that I went to see live, I think that when you see certain games live, you get certain perspective of players that you don't really get through the TV. So I felt like he could have been very important because Benfica pretty much ignored the left wing, or our left wing, your right wing, the entire game, and we created no pressure from it. Sporting was somewhat dangerous at times, but not enough to trouble Benfica, which is why I was surprised that Jurasek didn't come in. I remember also texting you that I felt that our subs were very, very poor, mostly because I didn't think that Mustafa Cabral was really going to change things, and it really didn't. And I also didn't like subbing off Florentino for Casper, because I just don't like subbing off Florentino when you have João Mario that wasn't doing anything on the field. And to be honest with you, when Elder Conduto says that Benfica is trying to salvage, not losing points in back-to-back weeks at home, that was like in the 90th minute. I was thinking that's just a complete pipe dream. And with two lucky plays, we were able to get goals. I mean, we overall in the second half, I counted 2 opportunities against 10 men. It was that shot by João Mario and that Di Maria shot that was saved by Adan and then hit the crossbar. That is just simply not enough when you're playing with an extra man, and it just showed Benfica's deficiencies in being able to create opportunities, and also Schmidt's inability to sub off certain players, like how João Mario lasts 87 minutes in the game, and as soon as Guedes comes in, you see Gaio starting to have some issues containing him. It's clear that Gaio was one of the worst defenders on Sporting, and we didn't take advantage of that. From the
not just Sporting, brother, in like Portugal right now.
Okay, I was about to say, from the Sporting perspective, I think you guys should feel harshly done by in terms of the game, because we. While in the first half, I believe that Sporting shouldn't be ahead. I actually think that we had more chances than Sporting did. Although, if I look at Sofa's score, which is what I usually tend to check, they actually give Sporting a higher expected goals and also one clear-cut opportunity, which I would assume is that pot one. I felt that at least going tied into halftime would make sense, and then the second half is just nothing pretty much happened except for those last 6 minutes where everything, well, not even the 6 minutes, it was 4 minutes and change of that changed the game. You asked me to speak about the refereeing as well, right, Sam? Okay. Yeah. So in terms of the refereeing, I felt like Artur Soares Dias actually, for once, apparently, seemingly, didn't want to be the protagonist of the game. I felt that he let play go on, maybe a few times when he shouldn't, but I never felt harshly done by at any point. And I was actually not looking to bring up the refereeing at all. I was starting to think what I was going to say when I came on the podcast.
That's one of our favorite topics, I'm afraid. So that's our go-to.
No, don't worry. It's just that when I was thinking what I was going to say on the podcast, well, this was when we were losing. I wasn't going to talk about the Musa play or the clear, in my opinion, at least clear penalty on Morita. On Otamendi by Morita. Because I didn't feel like any of those plays really would have changed anything in the game, because we weren't deserving of anything. So I wasn't even looking to bring up the refereeing. But overall, I felt like he was okay. I feel like there were a couple of yellow cards here and there that maybe should have been shown for either team, a couple of fouls here and there, but I don't think that he impacted the game at all. And if he did, he would actually be at least in my point of view, especially that penalty on Otamendi. So I can't really complain about it. And I'm going to be honest with you, I was not going to complain about it if we had lost either. So I'm just being as unbiased as I can in with his performance. I felt that for once he was actually trying to call an actual game instead of making it about him.
Yeah, and if you were just to give pretty much a match rating for Artur Diaz, what would you give him out of 10?
I guess I'd have to go. I mean, it depends on how much you weigh the Morita situation. If I don't count that, it would be 8 out of 10. If you count that, it's got to go down to at least a 7 because it's still a penalty.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Danny, I'll go with you next to switch things up a bit. What were your overall thoughts on sporting perspective, Benfica perspective, and the refereeing as well?
Man, I mean, it's not much different than what Peter was saying, to be quite honest. I thought, the same. First opening minutes, first 20-ish, 15, 20, 25 minutes. Benfica did have the better chances. They should have went 1-0 up, to be quite honest. But they didn't, I mean, we should have scored goals too, and we didn't, right? That's just.
I think it was the one flick from João Mario, and then it's like Florentino at the back post.
Could have missed a header.
That should have been a goal, bro.
Yeah.
Like 100%, that should have been in the net. It's almost harder that Florentino doesn't make contact than makes contact with that. Like, it doesn't go over his head; it goes past it. He just missed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and João Mario kind of fails to hit the target as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I'm not complaining. Don't get me wrong, but
João Mario.
But yeah, at least the only happiness I can get from this game. I mean, there's a few things, but the only happiness I can take, at least from a 2-1 loss in the last 2 minutes, is that João Mario dropped another stinker in a big game, and Benfica fans are starting to turn on him. So hey, we're here for it. We don't really care. But no, man. I mean, yeah. I thought, after the opening minutes, I thought Sporting was in total control of not total control, but they had a better control of the game. They had better chances. We were the ones more threatening moving forward. Marcus Edwards, he was getting beat up a bit. If I have anything to complain about in terms of the refereeing, I'm not even going to get it. I think the second yellow, the more I look at it, the more I see the contact. I think Rafa reacts way too quickly for there not to be contact, for him to just feel something and try to flick his foot back. We can get into the offside, I guess. That's the other tricky thing, I guess. But, I mean, we've seen these decisions called before, so I'm not even going to be that pressed on that. What I was going to say was, I just find it funny that the only yellow card given for simulation this game was on Marcus Edwards, when we seen Marcus Edwards getting beat up in that first half, let's be real, and no calls were given. And also in that first half, I seen Di Maria die and come back to life as if his name was Jesus Christ. And also no yellow there. There was a time where the referee told a Benfica player in the box, we're already down to 10 men at this point. Marcus Edwards already has the yellow for simulation. There's a Benfica player that falls in the box, and Artur Soares Diaz tells him, no, get up. So I'm thinking, okay, it was Rafa. Yeah. It could, perfect. Yeah. Could have been anybody. But all I'm saying is, this is the duality of it. It's like Artur Soares Diaz, you give a yellow to Marcus Edwards. I think it was a foul, but fine. It could have been a free kick outside the box.
You also don't usually see yellows for dives outside the box. I'll say that as well.
Exactly, but whatever.
Not to defend
we got
it,
the yellow.
But you just don't normally see it. Yeah,
exactly. But I'm even saying, okay, we got the yellow for diving. We get the yellow for diving. How do you then, in turn, tell the guy, no, get up? Sorry, sir, is there a dive here or not then? Like, what's going on? If it's not a dive, that's a foul then. You know what I mean? Like, what's so there's a little
that's
bit
the
of
thing about
duality
Artur Diaz, because they say he has got a bit of an ego complex. I think we saw it there, because it was just like he was so quick to not dish out the other cuffs. I'm not saying that he was quick to dish them out, but it was like just the way he waited and was like, just the way he was standing, it was just so much arrogance about it.
I just don't like his face.
I was trying to not interrupt Danny, but you said exactly what I was thinking, Sam. I think that the reason why Edwards gets a yellow card is because Suarez Diaz wants to be that dude, and he's like a meter
Facts.
away from Edwards. And he's like, okay, dude, I'm just going to impose myself, and I'm just going to give you a yellow card because I feel like it.
And it's
And in my opinion, it's not a foul, but I totally see like how you guys can see that. To be a yellow, yeah, it's harsh, but I think it was just Suarez Diaz, trying to impose himself, like.
If it's not a foul, there is at least a little bit of contact made. So you can't say it's an out and out simulation because that would be no contact made. So that's what got me. But yeah, carry on.
But yes, you're right, and it's also he is the main character because he was just like if you remember that play, for some reason it's imprinted in my brain. He's like pausing, he's talking to a Benfica player with the yellow in his hand, and you see like the Benfica player is kind of, I think it was Otamendi. He's like kind of like pleading his case, like no, this isn't a foul. And then he just instantly turns around and gives the yellow to Marcus. And it's like, this isn't drama school, brother. Like, come on.
Just give the card.
Otamendi actually thought it was going to be for him, right? So
exactly.
Otamendi's already pleading, like, well, why are you giving me a card? Like, I didn't do anything. And then he's like, what the fuck? Really?
Yeah,
it's going the
like,
other way.
You know what? Let's make this interesting. And then but I also
that's one thing I hate about Portuguese. Sorry to cut you off. That's one thing I hate about Portuguese refs. Like, just call your shit, give the card, be on your way. Like, none of this theatrical shit.
That's referees everywhere. England is like that too. But
England's getting bad for it too. I noticed.
But I mean, anyways, in terms of Artur Suarez Diaz, the only other thing I'll mention is I don't trust referees where I can see their tattoos. Not serious, bro. Leave the tattoos to the players.
I'm serious.
I actually noticed that he had tattoos on the back of his arm in this game as well.
Yeah. And he had like his t-shirts up to his shoulder and shit. I don't trust that guy.
Maybe he doesn't usually wear short sleeves. Maybe he normally wears long sleeves because I feel like
I think we might be onto something. We might be a part of a secret society of something.
If you're tatted, you're automatically disqualified for being a ref. Sorry.
But no. Other than that, bro, let me also just say, in terms of the refereeing decisions, I'm not too pressed about them, to be quite honest, because at the end of the day, you are playing away. So you are playing at Benfica has the home court advantage. It's called the home court advantage for a reason, right? You have the fans pressuring him. You have everything on top of it. So, I mean, in an ideal world, obviously, these things don't come into consideration, but they do. It happens when Benfica comes to us. And hopefully when Benfica come to us, we can get a little penalty that's not a penalty. I mean, I won't complain. But no, I'm just kidding. But other than that, I thought we still played well, even with 10. I didn't think, up until the last 2-3 minutes, I mean, where we mentioned it in the chat, and I also mentioned it in Portugal Corner yesterday. The thing that pisses me off about the 1-1 especially is Nuno Santos just ball watching as the ball's coming into the box.
So lazy. I understand.
Sorry
about Nuno Santos. He's fucking pissed me off when I saw that.
But I understand that, okay, it's 10 against 12 technically in the box because Turbin's in the box at this point. So I understand even, mathematically, it's hard to grab every single guy. But the fact that he's kind of I guess, defending the zone, and then as it's coming over him, he's not really running at the ball or running towards the player or something. It's a bit disappointing. It just perfectly falls to João Neves, who, by the way, played an amazing game. The biggest compliment I can give this kid is that he was annoying. He was annoying to watch. He was annoying to deal with. And I mean that in the best way possible as a rival fan,
He's
so
the
yeah,
player
shout
you
out
hate
to him.
To play against, but you love on your team in that sense.
Yeah. And also want to see where the kid goes, because I also love a short king. And my man is the definition of a short king. He's a pit bull in that field. So respect to him. I do like the kid, and I'll be interested to see how his career projects, because it's just a lot of leagues, a lot of teams won't take the risk on a short king like him. But nonetheless, it sucks. But at the same time, I mean, the performance wasn't too bad where I think we can hang our heads on or be super sorrow about. Christian mentioned earlier, international breaks probably at the right time. I don't know, because now it's either one of two things. You're either sulking for the next 2 weeks because not a lot of them are going to international break, or you are rejuvenated. You come back stronger than ever. We'll see, right? The same thing with Benfica.
And we have got the Tasso when we come back as well, so we could probably see even more rest for some of the starters, at least, especially because Gyökeres is going to international team. I don't know about Morita yet, but he was called
up, but I don't know if
he's
he's confirmed to go.
Human,
But yeah,
didn't
not
get
a lot
picked,
else.
Actually,
Oh, he didn't
Human
get
is
picked.
Human is
And
staying.
Inacio.
Nice.
Inacio got picture, and I think Diamanda
Yeah.
did as well.
Yes.
Yeah, but
'cause
Inacio,
Diamanda's got
I mean-
AFCON prep coming up.
Well, yeah, Inacio could play because he's
Yeah.
not playing against in the task force
Exactly.
anyway, so.
Yeah.
But like I was saying, like even for a Benfica perspective, I mean, they were coming off of like some hard results. And I feel like you guys, Peter, Sergio, you guys can speak to it more. Even now, it might be coming into like the wrong time because now you might want that momentum to have onto the next game. Whereas now it goes stale. And if you guys remember last year, you guys would go to international break on like the highest of highs and come back and fuck off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm kind of hoping for the same thing. I'm not going to lie to you guys, but but you know what I mean? So like even it's like the Jekyll and Hyde there, like where, this international break kind of sucks for both of us in this point. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, nothing would have been won had we won this game. 6 points clear would have been amazing. I would have been reaming you guys right now. Hold on, really quick.
Yeah.
I would have been
do your
reaming
shit.
you
Speak your
guys had
shit.
we been 6 points clear. But we're still tied in first. We're still there. Nothing would have been won. Nothing's lost.
Well,
right
I
now.
mean,
We keep it going.
technically we're second, but
we're first. But we're first. We're second, but we're first. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So,
Really? Is that how it works? I don't know.
yeah, it's how it works. It's how it works in the mind of Daniel Moraes Saldanha, at least.
God, what a window into your mind.
But I mean, like I said, nothing's lost though, is what I mean. You know what I mean? We're still there. The title race is more on than what it would have been, but it would have been on regardless because the next run of games was Gil Vicente, Guimarães, and Porto nonetheless.
Yeah.
And we could have easily slipped up 6 points there. We can easily make up ground here as well. So
not to mention Atlanta in the Europa League in between those as well.
Yeah, but who cares? At this point, who cares about that? Give me.
Whoa! You don't know Europa League blasphemy and slander.
I would never disrespect the Europa League, but I would rather the league.
Next, he's gonna. Who
just see,
the Liga? Like, come on, man.
I spoke my shit
Never,
last
brother.
week. If you have to give me only one, I'm taking Europa League.
Yeah, fine, but I'd rather the league.
No, I get the sentiment. Don't worry, you're good. Before I go on to Sergio, I'll have one more sporting opinion. Richard, I'll go with you. What were your overall thoughts on this game?
I'm not gonna add too much. I thought Peter and Danny really summed it up really well. Two things. I do think that Benfica really did need to win this game, not just because it's a derby, but because they were coming off of kind of a really rough Champions League week. And if they had gone 6 points behind, not saying the title race is over, obviously, because like it's a long season and Sporting does lovely sporting things towards the end of the season sometimes. But it would have really put a lot of pressure onto the club and probably the coach, especially if they had gotten blown out or if they had lost a man down at home or a man up at home. Second thought, I wanted to piggyback off of Danny. I actually found a Neves that I don't mind sharing a surname with finally. Fuck Ruben Neves. Well, Neves, I'm okay sharing a last name with. He's a fun player to watch. Getting to watch the highlights and stuff, and obviously get to watch the game, so I'm not going to add too much here. Just so impressive how he plays ball. And yeah, Danny's right. He's annoying because he's all over the place in a good way. He's in good position for the goal. Nuno Sanchez is a fucking moron. I just want to claim that. I'm glad his bald spot's showing even more now. It's starting to fade.
Is that due to the game, or you just want to get something off your chest?
That was both.
Okay.
That was both. He's an idiot. I know. I understand. Like, Danny was spot on. It is 10 against 12 because Trubin comes up. By the way, Trubin had a really good game. I thought he made some really good saves. But you have to be a bit smarter. You have to know, like, okay, I can only mark one or two guys here. Like, just do better. I think it's sloppy. It's almost lazy, which is like unforgivable in my opinion. It's just brutal. I thought Haddad actually played very well, kept us kind of level-headed for a while. If I had to give a man of the match, it would have actually gone to Trubin or João Neves. If I was giving it for the match as a whole, I thought Trubin played really well, especially the Pedro Gonçalves chance. Because if Potts scores that, the game's probably done. So good on him. Di Maria, came back from the dead. I didn't like that simulation nonsense. I thought it should have been a yellow card for Sim, but whatever. I kind of also agree with Danny. I don't think the Inacio foul. Let me put this better. I think Inacio, the more I look at it, the more I do think it is a bit of a foul. after seeing it 100 times, so I can kind of see it. That being said, on first glance, it doesn't look bad. But once you kind of see it enough times, you're like, yeah, maybe. Not much else to add. It was more of a gut. It's more of a gut punch loss for how it goes. A lot like I've seen us lose 100 times Benfica. It's just this one's a gut punch just for how it goes, right? When you concede 2 at the end, it was almost like a bit of a collapse. I don't want to comment too much on the reffing. I hate commenting on the reffing. I'm sick of commenting on Portuguese refs. It drives me nuts. I do think Artur Soares Diaz suffers from main character syndrome. He was all over the place. I was saying before the show, Portuguese refs, and I find Artur Soares Diaz is the guiltiest of this. Early on in games, they will either start calling everything to set the tone, and then they will start calling nothing as the game goes on. Artur Soares Diaz, I thought, was kind of the opposite. He kind of let them play for a bit in the first half, didn't call a whole heck of a lot. And then all of a sudden, as the game went on, it felt like he was just calling more and more and more and more egregious, just random stuff. And that's why I hate it. I just call it one way. And I don't like how he carries himself on the field. I think it was Peter or Danny said he carries himself very arrogantly on the field that shows, and I don't like that. Like, you're a ref, get over it. You're not. I'm not here to watch you. No one paid to go see the Artur Soares Diaz show. They paid to go watch Sporting and Benfica. So that's my overall thoughts. I was already like, I'm in a mood because I'm like, oh, my team lost the night before. I'd driven 3 hours and I coming home to this. I was like, oh, this is bullshit. Rough weekend.
Yeah, fair enough. Sergio, I'll come to you next. As a Benfica fan, what were your overall thoughts on this game?
Just one thing that Richard said. The one thing going for you, I know it's a gut wrenching or it's a punch in the stomach, but the one thing that is going for you is the fact that there is an international break. I think that's going to break that up. I think I don't think you're going to forget about it, but I think at least it breaks it up. There's a little bit of separation in time, and then you're going to just get back at it. One thing that's always missing with teams early on in the season is consistency against smaller teams. You got to win those points, and Sporting this year has been the most consistent team of the championship, winning points outside the big three. So you got to do that. That's what Benfica did last year, and that's how they ended up winning the titles. They never dropped points against a smaller team. So Sporting, to me, is still the favorite going into this second half of the season. Not second half, yeah, but still going in. They're still the favorite because they've been the most consistent team. Benfica is not consistent. This was a lucky win. We shouldn't fool ourselves. Like, Peter summarized the whole game pretty well, right? The only thing I would add is what hasn't been touched on is that foul. I think it was in the 8th minute. Diamond stepped on, who was it? Musa.
Yeah, it was Musa.
And Musa is an idiot. And he's too honest. Because if that was Otavio or if that was Rafa, he would have been on the ground. Ay, minha nossa senhora. Hey, I got a fucking bullet in the chest. Oh, my God. They would have been down. They would have stopped playing, gone to VAR, and chances are that would have been a penalty. Because if you go, there's some people usually post what all the protagonists or all the reporters rate after the game. I think 7 of the 10 for all the newspapers and the radio stations gave it as a penalty. And I think in this world, in the world of VAR, that probably would have been a penalty because you could see that he stomped on his foot. But Musa, being too honest of a guy, kept on playing. He didn't roll around. He didn't fall. He didn't do the actual thing. So,
he's not ingrained to the Tugal yet, sir.
Yes, he hasn't adapted.
He's got to watch his Mehdi Taremi tapes.
So they could have easily gone on a penalty in that context because of the way things are going these days with VAR, right? But so that was one thing, and I thought too I agree with what you guys were saying about Marcus Edwards getting a yellow, and yet there was a lot of simulation on our end that kind of went unpunished. I think the Angel Di Maria, okay, yes, he definitely dropped on the floor, was dead, and then he goes like an angel again, and it was back at it. Rafa in the box should have been carded as a yellow because he was looking for the penalty. That should have been a yellow in the second half. So, I mean, those two things alone, that to me kind of, I don't think they would have influenced the result of the game. Because the way Benfica approached the game again, like so Benfica was playing at home, and the first 23 minutes great. And then after that chance, the João Mario chip cross, whatever it was, to Florentino. After that, the 23rd minute, we just fell back, and Sporting just kind of came on. And then you guys haven't talked about it yet, but Dortes' goal, fucking fantastic. What a strike. Like, I originally thought, well, Ruben could have done better, getting a hand on it. But no, that thing was a bullet. There's nothing you could have done to stop that. That foi bem colocado e tudo. That thing went fucking in, and it was a gorgeous goal. Well deserved.
And Edwards' run just to give him the assist after 2. Yeah. Oh my God, amazing!
So Morata was left with his fucking cueckage in his hand.
Yeah.
You can tell Morata was not playing in his position. He got caught by Marcus Edwards. Great run to Victor, and Victor slots it in. Oh my God, it was a fantastic play. And at that moment, I'm like, holy shit! All these adaptations that we're doing right now by putting Morata on the left, Arsenal's on the right, it's going to come back. It's going to kill us this game. It's finally going to unravel for Roger Smith. Like, I think it was Richard who said, yeah, we came into this game. This was a must-win game for Roger Schmidt because there was pressure after the Champions League debacle, right? If we lose at home to Sporting, that would have been 6 points down, especially after the 50th minute when we were up a man. The pressure was on Roger Schmidt, right? And then what does he do? He responds by putting on Cabral and Tejta. He just throws two of us up front and said, go for it. Did that change the game? Not really. We were still asleep for the majority of the game until the 90th minute. Yes, there was a chance by João Mario, and yes, there was that other chance that Dan had made a great save on Di Maria from a strike from outside the box. But other than
his best save of the season.
It was a great save. Great save.
That would have been a classic goal.
Absolutely. Like. But what burned you guys at the end is you got caught sleeping because we don't score goals off of corners, guys. We do not. Ask every Benfica. The one thing we hate is these fucking short corners. So I was surprised they didn't do a short corner. So Angel Di crosses into the box, somehow lands to João Neves, and 94th minute he scores once again, just like last year, 94th minute. And then I think at the end that was a fluke goal. I mean, we were lucky because if Rafa had touched it, there would have been a lot more controversial because it was only 4 centimeters. We were lucky he missed that, and it went to Casper and he slotted it in. But holy shit, what a way to end it! But like I said, I don't leave this game confident in our ability to be campeões this year. I don't, unless there are changes made in January. I mean, we have, I think, Ferenc coming up. I forget who the other one is. And then, of course, Braga away. You guys have to play Porto, but there's a chance that we could fall back into second place by the time Christmas rolls around. Right? But I think there's only 3 games left in the Liga until the Christmas break. So as a Benfica fan, you don't feel confident going into this game because the formations are all over the place, right? Up until this match, he was playing João Neves on the wing for whatever fucking reason, right? With the 3 center backs, we paid dearly on Wednesday against Real Sociedad. Okay, the substitutions have not been Roger Schmidt's substitute have not been up to par. I mean, this thing about bringing Gonzalo Guedes on in the 87th minute, what the fuck? Why the 87th minute? What the fuck is John Mario? Or I think it was the 86th. What the fuck has João Mario been doing this whole game? And I think once Gonzalo Guedes came on, he gave them a little bit more of a spark, and you saw the team starting to respond. And I've said it before on Twitter. I wish Gonzalo Guedes would get more time on the field, not as a false nine, but in his natural position on the wing. Right? I would rather see him than João Mario. A lot of Benfica fans are feeling burned by João Mario. He's not consistent anymore. He's done. He's done. In our mind, this is probably his last season. He's done after this, right? But there's a lot of work to be done with this team, and maybe we will probably benefit from being out of Europe because chances are we might be out of Europe by the time Christmas rolls around. So maybe we'll benefit from that. But there's a lot of work that has to be done with this team, and I still feel Sporting is probably the favorites going in because they're the most consistent team. And Ruben Amorim has this team playing his system, and his system works. They were buying into his system. You guys only lost because of luck, bad luck. That's it. That's all you did. You did better playing in Benfica's home than Benfica did last year at the Alvalade at the end of the season, right? You had no fear going into the luge. Up at the 23rd minute, you guys took over right up to halftime. If it wasn't for Gonzalo Inacio getting sent off, who knows, 2-0, 3-0 again. And that would have fucking killed us in probably the season, being six points down. But because of a couple fluky plays, we're back at it. And that's football for you. And then in terms of the referee, like I said, I don't think it really influenced the score, the game, at least the score. I think the offside, the last goal was onside, and I think Gonzalo Inacio should have been sent off. I was kind of in the same position as I was kind of wondering whether or not it was even a yellow and if it was a simulation by Rafa. And I was in this position a couple of weeks ago with the Fabio Cardoso foul during the Clásico at the Luge, where he got sent off. And I was probably the only Benfica out there saying that was not a red, that was not red, that was not red. But after the more I watched it, the more I kind of understood the rules. I was like, okay, now I understand why it's red. Same thing with this, Inacio. At first, I thought, I don't even think that's a yellow. I think he just kind of simulated. Rafa simulated, just dropped to the ground. But you really need to slow it down. You kind of do see the leg clipped out. But you know how Portuguese players are. They're play actors. I think of this. I got shot. I'm going to roll around 5 million times, and maybe he'll stop the play, and I'll get a free kick over here. All the time. Right? So that's what usually happens. And that's what Musa needs to learn next time. Just drop on the ground and fucking do an Otavio and just pretend you've been shot. Right? So
He's got to watch his Taremi tapes, man. I'm telling you.
For real. So that's kind of where I see that.
Yeah, fair enough. Before I go on to Chris, Peter, did you have a question that you wanted to ask? Or
Maybe not.
Peter, can you hear me? Are you there?
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me well.
Yeah, we can. All
Hopefully
good.
you can, because I'm having some issues listening to you guys, but hopefully you can hear me.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you guys, because nobody said anything, and I'm a little surprised. To all you Sportingistas, what do you think of Paulinho coming into the midfield?
Oh, God, I forgot about that. Mine.
Yeah.
Do you know what the funniest thing is when he comes on and Human is like, "Oh, you'll play with me as a joke," and then Paulinho is like, "Yeah," and it's
Yeah,
like, they both start
except I'm
laughing.
not.
It's like, okay.
Oh,
But
baffling.
I didn't understand it at the time. The more I look back on it, it's like, okay, you wanted someone to stop the crosses, you want someone good in the air, and it made sense because Paulinho is good in the air. But at the same time, it's like, would you not bring on another defender? We had Neto
You're
on the
automatically
bench.
giving up your midfield.
Exactly.
like,
We had
even
Neto on
more.
the bench. We have a Sugo on the bench. Maybe not as good in the air, but probably stronger and would probably be maybe better to have. But for me, it was just like I didn't understand at the time. I don't know. I understand it, but I don't like it. I feel like that's probably the best
same.
way to describe it.
And
I feel like it's a sub that you're giving up your midfield even more as a man down. It's just, I understand maybe knowing that they're probably going to play Cruza ball.
Which they
were, but I feel like you have to look at the bigger picture and saying you're giving up your entire midfield and any chance to even stop an attack before it really happens.
Mhm.
Which is why I'm thinking, why would you not put another natural center back like Neto or somebody else in that position? I see why he did it. I just feel like that was a rare blunder from Amorim where he didn't look at the bigger picture of things, and I think it cost them a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, go on, Danny.
No, nothing.
Oh, okay,
Just hitting the head.
Cool. Chris, what were your overall thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I guess, ultimately, I think that the two probably biggest moments, are probably the Inacio moment, right? Because the second yellow, because that sets the tone for basically the entire second half. Yeah. It puts Sporting on the defensive. It puts Benfica, in control of the game. And And it's tough, right? Because as Sergio said, like it's like I've watched the replay so many freaking times, and so sometimes you watch it so many times you start to see things. You're like, oh wait, because there's one angle where actually it looks like he kicks his own leg. You're like, oh wait, did he kick his own leg? But it's probably after the contact, right? It's just you can't tell. You almost can't tell. Like he maybe clips him. He probably clips him. He possibly clips him. But we'll never know for sure. It's not reviewable, and even if it was reviewable, it's not like it would have been overturned, right? There's really nothing to see here. And then 4 centimeters, right? Where we're just kind of, we talked about the lines, like where they drew the lines from. I'm trying to think of what the other game was. I think it was our game against Casapia, the 7 centimeters, right? I mean, these lines, it's tough and it's inconsistent, like much. Sometimes it works out for you, sometimes it doesn't. In this situation, it didn't work out for us. But again, you can look at that screenshot of the ball getting crossed in as much as you want, and you're really not gonna see anything. It's almost too tough to tell, right? You're like, is the line drawn from the right spot? Is it Rafa? Is it Casper? If Rafa scores it, is it different? Is Casper behind him? Are they saying that they're equally on the same line? There's a million questions, but I mean, ultimately, like, there's no answer. As far as like the decision itself, like, I'm a big believer in like, and honestly, like, this is how I've always thought that the VAR operated, was that, the call on the field has to stand unless we have clear and obvious, evidence to overturn it. The call on the field was offside. Is this clear evidence overturning that decision? For me,
No.
it's not. But
I will say they default to offside all the time because that's the rule, right? Like they have to. So it's not like football where they've got more leeway to say what or baseball, I should say, what they actually think. I think they just put up the flag just to be safe in football these days because they just rely on the ball.
And after the play, they'll never put it up mid-play.
It gives them a reason to say we got to look at it anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it is.
So they put it up just so like he wants the question in, and so he puts up his flag. I think they do that more often now in football, just to go to VAR than actually rule whether or not they actually think it's offside or not. Right? They're not independent. These referees are not independent thinkers anymore. That's my critique on these guys. They seem to just kind of, let's just go to VAR. Let's fuck it. I'm just gonna whistle it and just go to VAR. Yeah. Right? They're just defaulting the VAR these days. That's kind of my opinion.
I have a feeling that if this gets called offside, if this doesn't get called offside, it actually gets ruled off by offside. Don't ask me why. I don't know why. It's just a gut feeling that I have that they would rule it offside. In my opinion, I do think that he's onside. Clearly, I actually agree with Sam that the line isn't even well done because it's like halfway through Sanchez's foot or maybe his ankle, which is ridiculous. I think they should have an independent team just doing the lines instead of it being the referees. Like, how difficult would it be to just have somebody that actually understands that thing to just do the lines, and then the VAR can just say, hey, he's 5 centimeters offside, he's 5 centimeters onside. But I actually think that the rule will eventually change, because I don't know if you guys saw the Darwin Nunez play this weekend.
Yeah.
Like, how is he offside? Like, how does that half foot make a difference? Like, his toes are offside. Like,
especially when you start drawing lines on the arms, it's like, is it here? 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 It's just like, it's just it almost feels like you can manipulate the decision to get any outcome based on where you choose to put the line. Even the frames. Even the frames.
I'm surprised they haven't. I'm surprised they haven't talked about this more often. But in the past, when VAR first was introduced, people were talking about using some kind of like leeway of like 20 centimeters or up to.
In MLS, they do that.
Yeah, they do that in MLS.
Right?
Yeah,
using like common sense. If it looks like he's onside, you don't even measure it. You don't question it. So
if it's under 10, that was like what the rumor or whatever is. Under 10, you don't touch it. But
and I'm not a video editor or a specialist in that field, but some people have said that the frames per second affects it or something like that, and so
does
there's
the angle. Like we're not looking
Right.
100% right
It's
now
not
across
straight
the line.
on.
You
That's
know?
the problem.
Absolutely.
You don't have that type of
So
camera.
it's
almost
almost like you
never
need to
are.
have some kind of buffer or variance built in and say, okay, you know what? If it's within 10 centimeters, 20 centimeters, you don't even draw lines.
Just leave
Like
it.
if it's by the eye and you see that they're somewhat onside, you just leave the original call as is and call it a day. So because now you end up drawing lines and controversies and shit. I remember it was a couple years ago, a Benfica Porto match, and it was 2 centimeters. It was
Yeah.
fucking
That's
2
nothing.
centimeters. How do you determine what 2 cent like that much? Like how do you even determine that from an angle from a camera so far off? Right? It doesn't make any sense. But I know that I think the offside rule is going to eventually change where they're not even going to look at that. Like a player will be on side even if they have their foot behind the, like you can be fully a meter offside now, and as long as their foot is behind the defender, it's going to be onside. So I think they're going to that, and they're testing that out now. And that
Arsene
itself
Wenger
will
rule.
bring more, and that itself will bring more controversy. There will never end controversy in football. You're always going to find a way to make it controversial.
As long as there's humans involved, you know?
Yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely.
As the crazy Canadian, I just want to point out a few weeks ago, I said, let's just fucking get rid of offsides. And
Yeah, just
this
no
way
offsides.
we don't have to have
That
this
would piss me off
conversation.
even more, bro.
That's
No, you know
impossible,
what?
man.
We're all grown ups. We're all grown ups playing this game. Benfica has 11 guys. The Sporting has 11 guys. Well, 10
Genuinely, the
guys.
amount of times that Paulinho is offside a game, that is the best rule for him.
It's
He
the
is
best
never
rule
for
offside.
him.
He's scoring at least 50.
He's scoring.
You guys are
60
re-signing
goals.
Freddy Montero as well.
The king of cherry picking right there. He'll just hang out with the
You know
goalie.
what? It's we got 11 guys. You got 11 guys. We're all grown ups here. You don't want him cherry picking? Put
Absolutely.
a guy on him.
Yeah,
be a
no,
man.
but that's very difficult though to do
No, I
something like
know.
that. It would just be because it
chaos.
wouldn't. Yeah, it's
Yeah, it changes the strategy of the game.
Well, pretty soon you're gonna ask for. You're pretty soon you American and Canadians are gonna ask for bigger nets. And,
No.
and
No.
change the shootout rule.
Go to MLS. Yeah, go to MLS.
The MLS
go to
rules.
shootout.
the MLS
It's more
shutout
popular
was
than anything.
those rules. The penalty kick ones though were nice. How they did that, kind of like in hockey where a player would.
Yeah,
What's going on?
that takes more skill as a play as the
It
shooter.
does. Yeah, it is. It is more difficult. But it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also
So you
do
guys
want
were
to
all
Tired
say,
of being offside.
I just
So-
have one
so,
more
yeah.
thing to add, just on the politics of it all. I actually was waiting for there to be comments from our administration, both in regards to the incidents themselves, and the security. All the fans
that
on
poor
the field.
woman.
The poor woman.
Oh,
The guy doing the double bird at a Don, like in the field of play. Radio
He's suspended
silence.
already.
These guys only have something to say against Porto. I'm sorry. I have seen them come out with the comunicado for infinitely less. And I'm not even saying like, when they come out with their bullshit comunicados, I'm like, hell yeah, brother, every time. No, I'm almost always like, yo, this is so
Whatever.
whack. But would be worth it more than other times in the past. If nothing else, just to kind of pick at your rivals and just kind of show that you're still here, and nothing. And it didn't shock me, but at the same time, I was like, I know they don't usually say anything against Benfica, but like they're gonna have to say something today, It was too
You know
what's
controversial, 4
crazy about it as
centimeters.
well?
The red, they're
With,
gonna say, and there's plenty there for a comunicado, right? But nothing.
yeah.
Yeah,
What's crazy?
I thought the way
I
that they
figured at
treated that
least. I
woman,
figured at least for the fight in the stands, like that's unacceptable.
that was stupid. And they featured that woman a couple times on the
Yeah.
podcast. Like she has the gray hair. She was sitting beside her. Like
Had
at the
the
beginning, she was, they were featuring her. She was happy, and then I felt bad for her. They focused it on her at the end when they scored the second goal, and she's like in fucking tears.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, that's so dry. Why would you do
Cameraman was on job that one.
that? Oh man! But then I saw the video that they posted and her getting assaulted. Like, what the fuck is that all about? Like,
That's one.
we harp about it. We're different. We accept other people with with a sporting scarf or
And
then
to be fair,
you're doing that shit.
sorry to interrupt, Sergio. I did see some posts of people in sporting fans saying like I was there and I had no issue, right? So
There was
Yeah.
the woman who took the picture
Yeah.
with the eagle
Yeah.
mascot, and like she was at
Yeah,
the front row, and she
yeah,
was
that's the
fine.
one. I felt so bad for her because it was just. I think not to excuse it. I think a lot of the emotions were pumped up. I get that, but football matches should be safe spaces. I don't give a shit about this ultra bullshit. It is what it is, but football matches should be safe spaces for anybody to bring a family member. The only
Can I
place
add to that
I would
too?
never feel safe going is the Dragão. I don't think you can reasonably go there. And I'm not this saying they're bad people or anything. I wouldn't feel safe going in a baby picture, or you guys probably in a sporting shirt to the Dragão. But I would feel safe going to.
Well, yesterday they wouldn't
the
feel safe in a
Alvalade.
Porto shirt either. So
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true. Right, but I would because I've always said this about Benfica and Portuguese. Like it's almost like they work with each other. They kind of know each other. They're internal rivals, but there's a mutual respect there. Whereas it's a different attitude towards Sporting and Porto fans or Benfica and Porto fans because of the regionality of it, right? So that's why there isn't that kind of camaraderie, I guess you can say. But I was shocked that happened to that lady, and I thought that's fucking bullshit. Because if that was my wife or that was my sister or that was my mother, I'd be knocking out some Benfica fans right now. Like, how fucking dare you? We talk about isso é mamação, o Benfica é lindo, all this shit. Oh, there was another video. Did you see the guys that were beside the Caixa de Segurança? And they were celebrating, and the caption is "O Benfica é lindo," and the guy's screaming. They scored the second goal. They're like, "O Benfica é lindo, o Benfica é lindo." They're turning around. They're showing all these sporting fans looking like
Just
dead.
dejected.
Yeah. And there's this guy doing this, like you're saying Benfica é lindo, and this guy's doing this at the I'm like, what is going on here? Like, that's not nice. You guys are being assholes. Like these people just saw like 2 goals in 2 minutes. Like, fuck you, man. Like, I don't know. There's some attitudes I just can't stand, and maybe because I'm used to being around Portuguese and Portuguese, and there's more of a tolerance. But I don't like the ultra culture that way. It's too much, and I just try and keep away from that because that's the stuff that ruins the game for everybody else, and just ruins the experience. Because I want to feel comfortable bringing my son or my daughter to a football match, regardless of where it is. Maybe because we live in North America and we see that anyways in North America.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can I piggyback off that quick, Sergio?
Like we're used to that. It's a different mentality in Europe. I get that, right? But like I would hope that people start picking up on that more and be a little bit more respectful to people. But it's gonna take a long time, especially in Portugal, to get to that.
I want to piggyback off that because you're absolutely right. I went to see Boston, Montreal, and like I was a Bruins fan in Montreal, and like we're all just kind of sitting amongst, and that's a big rivalry in hockey terms, and we were all just kind of sitting amongst each other like people. I'm like, they scored, I fucking jumped up and cheered, like, let's fucking go, and then they fucking won, and I'm like, well, this is bullshit, but whatever. And after the game, people were kind of razzed each other a bit, but nothing like nobody threatened assault. Like we could sit amongst and be civil and not resort to tribalistic bullshit violence.
Yeah, it's the civility that
say what you want about North American sports, but like at least we don't have that. Like that kind of stuff doesn't happen very often,
except on a specific place, which I won't name. I know everybody's thinking about it.
I think we're all thinking similar place, but.
No, but guys, if you allow me though to also say something about this, I think this stems from a lot of things too. Besides the whole cultural BS that everybody say, oh, it's a culture thing. Sure, for some reason it is, but when also the league allows clubs to say, hey, you can't bring a Benfica jersey to this game, you can't bring a Sporting jersey to this game. It also starts basically saying, hey, it's okay for you to trash somebody if they come to your stadium with a different jersey. It's like you're allowing for that type of mentality to happen. And also we have cameras everywhere, at least in the Benfica, the Sporting, the Porto stadiums, or even the Braga, the Guimarães, the ones that were made for the Euros and everything. They should at least have that type of technology. And people that start those kinds of fights, they should be punished too. They shouldn't be allowed to be in stadiums, because you guys know a lot of
And
bullies
rarely are
everywhere
they,
use
though.
football too.
And they're rarely are they punished though, because I can
Yeah.
guarantee you those guys that they caught that threw all the toshas on Wednesday. Well, I said strip all those guys of their social cards. They should never step into the stade rouge ever again. I guarantee you, they will be back whenever they want to go back, because there's no balls. They don't have balls to go against certain ultras, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's fear. Maybe I don't know what it is. And that's one thing I don't like about European football or certain clubs like our club or Porto's club. Like we don't hold our fans accountable when we should. Like I thought you were talking about statements. I thought the statement that came out on Wednesday, Benfica, about the Tosha was pathetic. Lamentável. Lamentável que caralho? Why don't you say? Honestly, just say os culpados vão ser expulsos do clube. Ponto final. But they didn't come out and say that. Oh, actions are lamentável. Oh, poor you. Fuck off, man.
It's like that one time, like when that one time that Macaco was banned from being in the stands, and they were playing Vizela, and Vizela has that sort of like small mountain, and he was just there watching the game. It's like, come on, he's not being punished. If those guys, the big ones, were punished, I think that would also send a message to those that follow them, like, hey, I'm not as big as him, and if he's getting punished, then maybe I shouldn't do this either, because my punishment's probably going to be a lot worse than his. So I just think that we have a very just nonchalant attitude about this. Like, this is just absolutely normal.
Apparently, double middle finger man is banned. But I mean,
yeah,
he's one of about 300 guys that ended up on the field.
Yeah, there was a couple hundred.
Listen, and there was one person in that stadium that should have a lifetime ban, and yet he was there on Sunday night. You guys know who that was?
I was gonna mention it on my man of the match, bro.
VIP pass.
VIP want to push the box, eating his fucking cage com vinho. Guy fucking robbed from the
What
team.
happened to Shane, man?
Oh, money.
But let me say a but here. Did you see who he brought with him?
I mean, who knows if that wasn't just somebody right there? They took a picture.
Back again.
You think he can bag that?
That's why I don't believe for
he
a second
embezzled
that
enough money for you guys. He could bag that.
Oh my god! No kidding.
Do that.
No kidding. Oh man, dude, like it's pathetic. There's no action in Portugal, so it's just whatever. Comunicados, and that's it. That's what happens in Portugal. There's no real action.
If we brought out Godinho Lopes, like there would be a fucking riot at the
Bruno.
Bruno started fucking whatever.
Bruno actually would cause a riot, but they would never have
Listen,
let alone
whatever's left of Jubileo would lose their fucking.
I want to see this where how Benfica now has the DJ beforehand who plays you guys need to bring in Bruno Costa, the DJ. Oh, buddy, that place would go down.
We can't even store the pitch because we got that bullshit moat. So guys would try to store the pitch, fucking fall 15 feet, crack their head open anyway. So
I'm gonna steal a joke here from Justin from the Portugal corner, but it just sucks. Luis Felipe Vieira, he couldn't even bring a fake mustache; they would still recognize him. You know what I
mean? Couldn't come with a top hat and glasses or something. No
perfect nose.
Oh my god!
Nothing, just no effort.
Yeah, I just want to follow up on what Chris was saying quickly about the Comunicados, because did you guys see that Arsenal released one and how the football was shut and they're like, oh, how embarrassing! I'm like, we do this every week, and
we do this all the time.
Madrid do it every other day, bro.
Yeah.
And to be fair, in the Arsenal game, I think they have a right to.
I think they have a bit of a right to be upset about that. So fair.
But yeah, I thought that was crazy. But in terms of being in the stadium, me personally, I've always been on the side that if you are going to be in a home end I personally wouldn't wear any sort of colors matching, for example.
See, that's a
sporting.
European. Again, that's a European thing. In North America, we don't give a shit.
Yeah,
We're
no,
civil.
yeah, exactly, definitely. It's the way, because I've always been told this story by my dad. He went to watch Arsenal versus Chelsea at Stamford Bridge as an Arsenal fan,
Yeah.
and he was in the Matthew Harding end, which is like back in the day, proper hard nut Chelsea fans. And he went with my brother, who was like 5 or 6 at the time, and like they had to buy the fake Chelsea shirts just so they like could get in without having an issue. I think Patrick Vieira scored the winner. My brother, being 4 years old, doesn't realize. He gets up and goes, "Yeah," like, and my dad's like, "Shit!" Like he's like,
"Shit, we're done. We're dead. It's done."
But yeah, for me, like, I'm not saying she of course she didn't deserve that, and of course people
What's a different mentality?
Yeah,
it's a different mentality.
Me personally, maybe because I don't know, because in my head I was like, when I saw it, I was like, oh, she is going to be a woman. She'd probably be fine. Like, if it was a woman and a child supporting the other team, it's like, okay, you can forgive it. But then I obviously see what happens.
Those Benfica fans didn't discriminate.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No special treatment.
I think it is a cultural thing, because even at the last game I went to, which was Stevenage versus Oxford, there was a fight there. So it's just like, maybe it's just something I'm used to in that regards. But yeah, I mean,
hey, at least we're not sexist. We beat the shit out of everybody.
Yeah, you guys did discriminate. You were like, fuck it, anybody can get it.
Oh my god, we're so bad. Oh my god, this is so bad.
That's bad. I don't give a shit who you are. Anybody can get it. Woman, child, man, triple, anybody. You're all getting
anybody.
Hey guys, if you don't mind, I do have one question and something that I wanted to share that I forgot. Because Sergio was talking about the Porto game, like Benfica is going to Porto games and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I have a Sporting friend. He's actually my best friend is a Sportingista, and he often goes to the games against Porto because we live here, obviously. So. He says that every time they leave, there's always people waiting for them to beat them up. They have like sticks, they have baseball bats, all that kind of stuff. Just basically crowbars. They're just waiting for them for the match to end, and then to try and hurt. And it, to me, it's just it's ridiculous how somebody can't go safely to a game. But that's just something that I wanted to say. I do have a question that's a little bit off topic, but Sergio kind of brought it up with the DJ thing, and I've seen a lot of Benfiquistas talk about it, and I kind of want to know your opinions as Sportingistas and overall football fans, if you would like for this to be a thing for Sporting. So I went to the Benfica game against Estrela da Amadora, and I arrived quite early, so I basically went through the whole pregame thing. And they have a DJ that basically has like dance cams, and they play songs, and they basically encourage people to sing popular songs, but they change the lyrics to Benfica related stuff. And a lot of Benfiquistas are saying that that's killing the atmosphere. And to me, I kind of see it as a little bit of a harmless thing, because you're waiting 2 hours for the game to start. So it's not something that should affect anything. But a lot of Benfiquistas are basically coming into the stadium with like 15 minutes before kickoff, because they don't want to sit through all that. So as Sporting issues, how do you guys think about, what do you guys see when it comes to that?
Can I start this one?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
We were at the hockey game on Saturday, because this is a good story, and they played Country Roads, and let me tell you, 22,000 people singing Country Roads by John Denver got me fucking fired up. And this was during the game. I have no problem with that. Like, it's 2 hours. If you're there 2 hours before and they've got some time to kill, why not? It's better than sitting there in like utter silence. Like, it's not harming anybody really, and like, I don't think it should have any effect on the actual atmosphere of the game. If anything, like, if people are kind of happy and in a good mood and entertained, I would think that would actually help the atmosphere a little bit. But that's just my 2 cents.
For me, it feels a little artificial, and I think maybe atmosphere like that should be more natural. And I don't really know what your answer is to get it more naturally. But for me, like, I'm sure Benfica have loads of songs dedicated to Benfica anyway. Play those before the game. Don't like.
I agree with that.
Yeah, if you're saying they're, for example, they're playing, I don't know, a popular song and changing some of the lyrics to Benfica, then it's like, I can understand why people don't enjoy it, and dance cams and like I don't know if they do kiss cams and stuff like that, but for me it's just that's a bit too no disrespect to anyone from that's more sort of Americanized for me.
It's totally.
I'm not saying that's a bad.
Can I ask
It's
that?
very
So
Americanized.
you're obviously in the UK, so there's been a big talk about how the EPL is pivoted more towards family versus what it used to be back in the 80s and 90s. Where
Yeah.
the male dominated, hooligan, all that. They pivoted because of money to family entertainment. How is the pregame in England? Like, have they pivoted to that as well? Because I see that that's the clash now in Portugal. Benfica wants to pivot it to more of a family game and take away. And some of the ultras are against that. They're like, well, that's sapping the energy out of the fan experience, the natural energy that we used to have with all these ultras. How is it in England? Like, do you see the same thing happening in England, where it's becoming more Americanized?
So the both times I've been to watch Arsenal Sporting, so obviously this year, technically last year, and then in 2018, for all they just played like normal songs. That makes it. It was just chart music, I suppose, like before the game. But I guess that's sort of more normal in the sort of bigger EPL, like you said, more family orientated. I think like I say 10, 15 minutes before the game, I now know Arsenal have their own song, which is similar to like the Liverpool "You Never Walk Alone" song, which they play before they come out, obviously. And I think Manchester United have theirs, Chelsea have theirs. But for like lower leagues, for example, when I've gone to watch Stevenage, there's just no music. It's just
it's silence.
Just fans talking. There's obviously they'll make some announcements. They'll talk about like they'll have like competitions. Like I guess they have that aspect of it where it's like for the 2 Stevenage games I've been to this season, they do like the competitions for the little mascots, like to walk out with the players, and they give them stuff. But yeah, I guess it's not sort of Americanized per se with like the kiss cams and the dance. I think it's just more like you said, catering towards the family, the children, and stuff like that. Which, to be fair, I don't mind. But stuff like dance cams, kiss cams, for me, it's just like that's a bit too much.
I'm with you there. Those things are kind of weird and annoying, but like they want to play like some songs. Like who cares? That's kind of where I fall.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to me, in my mind, the alternative is them just kind of like turning the radio on and just letting it play top, chart songs, like Sam said. But I guess the DJ is just basically a little bit more interactive version of that.
Yeah, they're trying to get some people involved. It seems.
Yeah,
and that's why I kind of liked it. And just to answer something that Sam said, they do play the Benfica songs as well, but they also play, for example, like the "I Got a Feeling" song from Black Eyed Peas. They kind of change lyrics to that and all that. And then they play regular, so they switch in between. So they play Benfica songs, they play top 100 type songs, and then they play some songs with different lyrics. So they kind of interchange everything. And there's only a dance cam, by the way, no kiss cam, at least that I noticed. So and that seems to be okay. I only asked because obviously I unfortunately I don't get to go as many games as I wish I could to the Luge, and I just saw so many people upset about it, and I kind of don't get it. I understand if you kept it up like all the way until the start of the match, but it only goes until before warm-ups. When it starts going to warm-ups, they actually kind of stop the DJing, and it's just regular.
I know, it's like what percent of the stadium is even seeing that on average? 15% max, you know?
I would say less even. Like how many people get to the how many people are still walking in the game as the players are like in the tunnel?
I know, especially in Portugal.
Right? Like, you're kind of like tailgating, I guess, inside of the. You can be tailgating inside of the stadium. You don't need to be outside of the stadium. And what does it matter if a DJ is playing or not? You're still listening to those annoying songs, whether a DJ is there or not. And the DJ kind of helps, at least, theoretically, honestly, though, it helps.
I think it's a symptom of a bigger issue at hand now, especially with Benfica and Sporting, where there are rules now. You have to be a legal clock to be able to bring in flags, banners, and all that. And so because neither of the two clocks, the other Vermelhos and the No Name Boys, are legal, they can't bring anything in. They can't bring pyro technically in, banners. We've lost a little bit of that. So before these big derby and classic games, you'd see them roll out things, right? Like banners,
tifos.
Lisboa é vermelho and that's it, or like stuff like that, right? To kind of add to the spice of it. But now that's all gone away because No Name Boys and Diablo Vermelho refuse to be legalized because they don't want to comply with the government's rules. And so a lot of that's gone away. So Benfica has taken it upon themselves to take over the ambiance and the vibe of the game by doing this stuff pre-game. So that's kind of where it's at. But a lot of people are complaining that the Ultras used to be the voice and the atmosphere at the Stade de Luz. And because they've been stripped of that, of all the banners and flags and all that, the Lujas lost a little bit of that spark, right? And I don't know if it's the same thing as the Alvalade. I'm pretty sure it is. I think the Diretivo is butting heads still with your administration, right?
They're all butting heads. All the clocks are kind of butting heads with each other.
Exactly. So that's contributing to part of the issue with the atmosphere at both stadiums, right? The Ultras and the clocks are not seeing eye to eye with the administration, whereas in Porto, the one thing they do well, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but Super Padrões, geography, flags, banners. You go into that stadium and say, "Oh shit, now that's a football match," because they've got banners and flags. And all that's because they're legal and they get funding, right? So that's the reason why their atmosphere seems so much better than the other two, right? And that's part of the problem right now. Is there are problems, internal problems within both clubs with their ultras and the clocks that are leading to the problem with atmosphere at both stadiums, right?
Yeah, but Sergio, just real quick before you guys chime in, I want to say something about the Porto situation. Porto actually have illegal objects there, so there's flags, there are flag sizes that aren't legal that the Super Dragões bring.
I mean,
they're microphones, for
It's a
example.
flag. Come on.
I was gonna say you could talk
Dude,
about
I
flags.
totally-
They threw a bullet
totally-
at Trincao last year. A bullet.
A bullet, like a
Yeah,
fucking actual bullet.
Screw the flags.
I'm not here to argue whether it's right or wrong to have a bigger flag or a smaller flag. That's not the point that I was trying to make. It's just that they do those things because they sort of can. Nobody stops them. The microphone situation with Macaco when he's shouting on that mic, he's actually not allowed to because those mics are actually specific for certain functions that aren't allowed inside stadiums. But here he is shouting at the player trying to take a penalty kick. So
You're right. They get away with bloody murder with a lot of things, right? But you can say the same thing with Benfica and Sporting. I mean, there's a certain level of tolerance, and we turn the blind eye for a lot of things with Benfica and Sporting as well. So, but I think that's part of the issue. I think in Portugal is there is some internal conflict with the clocks in each club. At Benfica and Sporting, and that's probably leading to what you're seeing right now with the atmosphere at the stadiums.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to quickly just piggyback from that. Before I speak on the game quickly, just about the light show. I have a bad experience with them because in Tottenham and Man City, both the away days been to, where like the light show is like it's a little spectacle, and the home fans like it. Like you said, friends and family, they're like cool. But in the Spurs, when I went to Spurs game, it lasted about 5 minutes, and it was so bright that genuinely it gave me a headache, and I couldn't actually watch a lot of the game. Like if you had you were prone to strobe light, you had epilepsy, you'd be in trouble because it was just
shambles.
It was just 5 minutes of constant lights, and it's just it genuinely does hurt your eyes. So I hope to never see that sporting. But
close your eyes.
You can still see it, man. That's how bright it is.
Didn't you guys install LED lights though, Sam?
Say again, sorry?
You guys installed the LED lights, right?
No, we haven't.
No, you haven't yet?
No.
I thought you guys had.
They've been talking about it for a while. But the way because our stadium was never built properly, really. The way it's oriented it's more expensive to do it than it would have if they would oriented it properly. It's just weird. Just the way the stands are laid out.
Right.
Yeah.
You guys are much more
that mode. You guys need to fill in that mode. That's the stupidest thing. I swear to God.
You know what pisses me off? Because my family's from
I
Alvalade.
hate that.
And basically the stadium in Alvalade, the municipality of Alvalade, is basically the Alvalade it's on a smaller scale without the moat. And I'm like, why couldn't we have just had that? Literally give me that stadium scaled up to like the 40 or 50K. That's
Absolutely.
all they needed to do. It's the
Like,
exact same stadium. They just don't have a fucking moat.
You guys did a great job with updating the sea colors. Like the sea colors originally were just so stupid. Like it was just weird, right? But now that it's all green, it looks sexy. Like it actually
Shout out
looks
to Thomas Tavares.
real. You know what I mean? But that moat thing, you guys need to fill in that moat
Yeah.
so that you can celebrate when you get you hit the 90th minute goal against us. Fill it in so that the fans can run onto the field.
They've done some stuff.
Moving the fucking finger like that.
They have, I will give this administration credit. They have done some stuff to finally make it feel more like Sporting Stadium. Because at least like the Estádio da Luz, Estádio do Dragão, they feel like Benfica Stadium. They feel like Porto's home. The Estádio de Alvalade didn't really look or feel like sport things. It had the weird multicolored seats, these weird bathroom multicolored tiles on the outside. So they've slowly but steadily started to make it look and feel more like it's actually Sporting's home, not just some weird random neutral venue. But we can thank Thomas Taveda for that stupid fucking moat. Dumbass architect.
Before I move on, I'm just going to quickly say my 2 cents on the game. I have shouted on him the whole time, and I also did want to put a joke in there to that guy who put his middle fingers up at Dan, who hasn't wanted to do it this season. So, but yeah, I will say Dan was fantastic. He was incredible, and like obviously I hate him a lot. That save from Di Maria for one, that sort of looked like it took a bobble and went out for a goal kick. He definitely got a fingertip on that. And fair enough, the referee didn't see it, but that was a great save in itself. And then the one from Jean Mario, that save as well is just I just couldn't believe what I was seeing, because if that was like 2 weeks ago from I don't know Mateus Oliveira, that's a goal for Ferenc. That Dan doesn't save those, so it's like he was so 5.4, of course, because he conceded 2, but at no point do I think Dan had any fault at the goals, which is definitely rare. But I think the 5.4 is a little harsh to Dan, because I thought he was arguably probably one of the best players on the pitch.
It's because it's the scorer line, right? They're going to bump him down because of the scorer line, I feel. But I would agree with you, Sam.
I do wonder if it was 1-0, would a Dan be man of the match? And for me, probably, I would say. But yeah, and then I'm looking. So Inacio, I agree. It was 100% 2 yellows. Stood on the guy for the first yellow. And then the second yellow was it, or like you guys said, in real time, it didn't look like a thing. But there was one replay on Benfica TV. I mean, probably like the second. You could see it does make contact, and it's annoying because Inacio should know better. He should be more aware of his surroundings than to stick his leg out for Rafa. And you can blame the age, but he's been a professional for now, I think 4 years. You need to sort of get that mentality out of you're just young, you make mistakes. And I know the article said after the game that he was distraught and like he took the blame, but it's also like you should know your surroundings better than that. And I feel like
hasn't he done that before as well, Sam?
Against Sporting Braga, and literally, I think it was the first half he got a second yellow. But luckily, we won that game.
We barely won that game.
Yeah, exactly. So we didn't get to win that one. Pedro Gonçalves, man, how are you missing from there? It's literally one of the easy, like literally put it left, put it right, goal, straight down the middle, keeper saved. And what annoys me about him and Nuno Santos especially, in every interview they're like, oh yeah, I want to play for the national team, I want to do this for the national team. And with the performances you're doing,
not like that.
why is Roberto Martinez going to be like, oh yeah? And you can say, okay, Totti Gomez doesn't inspire, he's not very good, but it's just like, why?
I don't think Totti Gomez is a real player. I've never seen him play.
He did play. he did play this weekend against Spurs. Actually,
I don't know. I've not seen him play. I don't think he actually exists.
But yeah, I just if you want to get to the national team, you don't do it with performances like that, especially Pedro Gonçalves, man. Imagine if he scores that. I know you could say like, oh, if my auntie had stone, should be my uncle, but it's like if he scores that, that's what 2-0, and that's Benfica probably game done for me. Like obviously anything can happen, but for me that's that. But I will say for me in terms of offensive players, Edwards was fantastic. The pass to get Pedro Gonçalves in that position was like 10 out of 10. Like I couldn't believe he made it, and the fact that he scored it as well. Well, he didn't score it, just made it worse for me. And then obviously Edwards getting that assist for Yoko, as we mentioned it before, was fantastic. And I do understand why he brought Edwards off, because he wanted to bring Pedro Gonçalves into the middle and then play with just sort of 3 midfielders. but I always feel like he's hard done by. Whenever there's a red card or there's something, it's always Edwards the first one to come off. But maybe you take Pedro Gonzalez off in that instance because he did bring Pedro Gonzalez off Trincao eventually. So it's like maybe you do bring Pedro Gonzalez off, but I understand why he didn't. He made that sub, and Gyökeres as well. I saw people on Twitter were saying like, "Oh, Morata kept him in his back pocket." It's like, but he scored. Like you can't
scored a goal.
Yeah, you can't keep someone in his back pocket. But to be fair, I don't blame. Like it's not any of the Benfica defenders' fault. I think it's just a powerful shot. Trubin gets a hand to it, but we've seen those from
Joel
Gyökeres.
Mario got bodied in the build-up.
Yeah, that was the only issue. Yeah, but I think for Trubin, it's like he gets a hand to it, but it's like, you know, it's we've seen Gyökeres score loads of them. They're just too powerful. He's got a strike on him, and then once it goes on goal, you know, it's a difficult one to score. But
that shot had like a 0.002 expected goal or something like that.
It was 0.08.
There you go.
Wow.
Something ridiculous. Yeah, it was a terrific shot.
That and the only other two players I really want to mention, okay, maybe three players I want to mention is Mateus Reis and this guy who are so bad, man.
Man can't cross the ball, and he proved that one once again.
Yeah, Mateus
frustrating going forward.
And Mateus Reis versus Di Maria is always going to be a struggle because
we knew he was getting cooked before the game even started.
That's why I personally would have started Nuno Santos, but again, I understand it. That was probably the only decision I probably.
The thing is it's not Mateus Reis' worst, it's like an average game for him, you know.
Yeah. But I felt like Esgaio, man. I saw a stat. I don't know if it was true, but it was like out of the 15 times Sporting lost possession, Esgaio lost it 11 times.
That's not a good number at all.
I saw someone tweet it, but it wasn't like the official stat. I think it might have been like Sporting Tactical, maybe that like tweeted or something. But if that is true, that is just crazy because he was very bad.
But why isn't Ivan being trusted right now? Like, why don't you guys incorporate him in? Like, I don't understand.
He was injured for this game allegedly, but he was injured last game allegedly as well.
He also has done nothing with his opportunities, if we're being real.
Yeah, he played in the Taça de Portugal and gave away a penalty against a fourth division side. He played against Atlanta. Fair enough, was thrown in the deep end, but got skinned by Adamola Lookman like 5 times in about 10 minutes.
He got cooked that game.
Yes. So I feel like he's not been given a chance. But when he does, but again, he does get thrown into the deep end at times. Like I think he had Braga. He had it was Braga, Atlanta, and obviously the fourth division side. But yeah, I assume he'll probably get more opportunities. But yeah.
Sorry, I actually spoke with my Sporting friend before the game, and I asked about Fresneda, and he said that he just hasn't delivered in any of his opportunities. But I also think that it goes down to what we call those favorite players, that the coaches have, and for some reason, Ruben Amorim is always going to give the benefit of the doubt to Esgaio, and he won't give it to somebody else. I also think that plays a part, and we see that a lot in Benfica. As well, for example, like João Mario. João Mario gets plenty of chances, but Thiago Villa has like 2 great 10-minute displays where he maybe gets a goal or an assist, but then he doesn't even make the bench the next game. So I think that also plays the part. The coaches sometimes they're for some reason too stubborn with players that are just completely average, and everybody can see that they're average, but for some reason they just like them.
Oh, they buy into this. That's why. That's why they buy into the system.
Yeah, and I think with Fresneda as well, he comes from Valladolid, who played a 4-back, obviously moving into a 5-back. Now, it is a completely different position. You have to attack, you have to defend. You pretty much have to do everything on the pitch. Whereas a right-back in a 4-back, sometimes they want you to defend more, sometimes they want you to attack more. But it is learning a whole different position in a different league. And to be fair to Esgaio, he's not been great this season, right? But he's not been terrible.
He's not been
this game.
He hasn't been bad enough where he's not playable.
Yeah. Exactly.
But the thing is, you guys are Sporting, and those players shouldn't be starting. They should be stopgap players. Like, our starting right back is hurt. Let's play Esgaio. Our starting left back is hurt. Let's play Esgaio. He should not be your starter. That's the thing. Sometimes we get
starting right now for Benfica, though. Let's be honest.
But that would be because we don't have Ba. But you wouldn't be, if you had him and Ba.
Yeah, absolutely. But
That's what I was going to say. I think if the one thing I said in the group chat, I said if Jenny Katamo is in this game, I do think maybe not with 10 men, but I do think it's a different scoreline because Jenny, I think probably would have started at right wing back, and he for the last 4 games before he got injured, he was so good. He was
playing well.
He was arguably one of the best players on the pitch in like the last 3 or 4 games.
It's going to be a steal from Amora. He's going to be such a steal. Oh my god. He's going to be such a steal when you guys sign him on. I think it's going to be a permanent deal afterwards, right?
We own him, but they have like 50%, I think. So
But
it was an academy player.
Special.
No, he wasn't at Demodora. It was
Amora FC.
Amora, yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay.
It was
I had no
Veranda
idea. I thought he
special.
was. I was going to say that he's like one of the few academy players that's actually shining through, but
He's not.
let's scratch that. Yeah.
Sorry to disappoint. No, he came from Amora, but we only own like
I think we only have 30% of his
packs.
It's a Veranda special.
Yeah.
It's like we're gonna give you all this for.
And
like,
before the season, we went to buy some, and I think they valued it at like 1 million. They're like, "Oh no, that was too much. We're not paying that." Now, obviously, Jenny's put in so many good performances. They've gone back, and Amora have gone, 3 million now.
3 million
So,
triple the price, like understandably.
Yeah, you don't blame them. But
you're always paying for potential. You always have to pay for potential. You got to think that. Like sometimes maybe a player might seem more expensive than we should be, but if you guys, like you said, if he was valued at 1 million, just pay the 1 million. It's like the Pedro Gonçalves. You guys, Pot's first season. I told you, Sam. I thought that Sporting should have sold Pot after the first season. I don't know if you remember that, but I told you that. But either way, getting Pot because Porto were just not willing to pay that extra, like 500,000 or something to Famalicão. It's just ridiculous, guys. It's like 500k. Just pay the 500k.
Yeah, it was more than 500k though, wasn't it?
Something like that. No, I don't think it was like 6 million. And you guys paid 7 million or something like that. It was
we paid 6 million for 50%, so they wanted another 6 on top of that. So they wanted 6 million, which we did end up paying, I think.
Yeah, but you guys paid the first 6 million. Yeah, the guys paid the first 6 million. Porto were willing to pay like 5 or something like that. It's like they pay that extra 500k or that extra million and get the player, because sometimes teams value pennies way too much. Like if a guy's gonna if you think that this player is gonna be good, just pay. Sometimes it might not work out, but it's better to at least have the player than to then have to give a king's ransom to have him, to own him. I think you guys have that issue before. I don't remember with who in specific, but I do think that's
a couple of times.
because you guys usually do those 50% kind of deals, and then you want to own the player fully. But he's already
luckily he sort of moved on from that now. He sort of moved on from the 50% deals. We've got like 70-80%, which is like normal, I suppose. In most, like you always give like 20%, 15%. So
you always give a bit of like a sell-on clause usually nowadays.
Yeah,
sometimes teams prefer actually to keep the percentage, so it's actually even more than the sell-on or whatever. Kind of what we did with Enzo. And you guys asked, was Enzo expensive? No, we paid like 15 million for him because I'm not even sure if he got to hit his objectives. And River still made like 30 million total because the 15 from Benfica and or even more, and they might have made even 45 million or something. But it's worth it. Like 15 million for a player like that, just pay.
Let's do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Like you guys do with Ilman, by the way. Ilman is
a
great player.
Yeah. The last thing I want to bring up in the game is that I thought Hjulmand was fantastic this game. I thought he commanded our midfield. He moves like a captain. He's all like, I know it's annoying for other fans, but he's always the first one up to the referee. He's loud. He talks to everyone. And also he gets bonus points for laughing at Paulinho coming on, because that also made me laugh. I think it made everyone else laugh as well. So I was like, I loved it. But other than that, in terms of the game, I think we've hit the nail on the head. João Neves for Benfica was fantastic. But I will pivot and just say that I think the league is still wide open. And I'll say it because not one of the big three have looked good. I think
that's what I said last week. You're still my point. I agree with you.
You're right, because we've nearly bottled Leeds. We were 2-0 up against Vizela and we bottled it. We only beat Estrela Amadora 3-2, and it's just some footballs like that. Benfica, of course, lost to Boavista. They've had some drop points in there as well. And even this game, Caspia, it took you 90? It took you 50 3 minutes to score against a team who had 10 men. And even before then, you couldn't get a goal in between.
Nobody's looked outstanding this season.
I will say out of the three, Porto probably looked the worst.
Yeah.
But I still think it's still very early in the season for them to make it up. And if, to be fair, I think if anyone can make up those points, Conceição, maybe not with the recent events, what's going on with Porto in general and the AG and things like that. But I do feel like what Sergio's saying with Ruben Amorim, Porto have a system that the players buy into. And sometimes that system is just, win together, lose together. Sergio Conceição, they will run through a brick wall for Conceição. We all know that.
Yeah.
They love him as a manager, and you can tell. So I think, like I said, I think the league's still wide open. It's November 14th.
We're only 11 games in, right? Like,
yeah,
there's a lot of games left still.
But I don't think it's going to be the last drop points for either Sporting, Benfica, or Porto. There's going to be another few losses in there, just the way that both teams are playing. January can come along. You could lose João Neves. I know it's been linked to Man United as of today. Diamonde and Inacio has been linked to Newcastle, everywhere else. And obviously Porto players. Taremi's been linked away. And there's Diogo Costa's always linked away. So,
but to be honest with you, if there's any team that's going to sell in January, I think it's more likely to be Porto than it is Benfica or Sporting. I think Porto, given their finances, and I don't know what needs to happen before December 31st, but if there's anybody that needs to sell or a good potential sell would be Porto. It just depends on whether or not they get into the next round of the Champions League and get that extra money or not. But
I would agree, but I just don't think they have any valuable assets. I think Diogo Costa, of course, is like the main one.
Diogo Costa and then
Taremi's got 6 months left on his contract.
Yeah,
so
he's free to sign in January, so nobody's really going to pay Porto.
Porto's done that with a lot of guys the last few years. They've had that happen where guys just left on a free. It's like you
Corona and Bemba, and they're like important players.
It's like you could have made like 10, 15 million, 20 million on some of these players, and you let them walk for nothing. Like they've almost shot themselves in the foot a lot of times.
Yeah, it's kind of. I mean, it's like it's basically the opposite of what I've been with Benfica and, for example, what they had with Grimaldo, because the Grimaldo situation, it happens like once every blue moon. They tried everything to re-sign him, and he just didn't want to stay in our league, and he wanted to try something different. Like how many of those Porto players just didn't re-sign because Porto weren't willing to pay them what they're owed? And they also went into a little bit of trouble because they paid Otavio like 15 million signing bonus or something like that. If you're gonna give that high of a signing bonus, then other players are gonna ask for that kind of same signing bonus.
If that's a precedent.
Well, I mean, I guess it makes sense because you would have to spend 50 million on a player like Otavio to get him in. So it's like, okay, fair enough, you don't get a transfer, but you are still having the player
Sam,
there.
but you're thinking in a fan's perspective, and but you know what, in a player's perspective, they're not thinking, the club's financials. They're not thinking, if Porto let Otavio go, they pay 50 million, and for me, they only have to pay like 5 million for my replacement.
According to Pinto da Costa, Mbemba wanted to be the highest paid player in Porto, but Mbemba came out and said that's a lie. But we don't know to believe in that case, I suppose. But yeah, I get what you mean.
I'd believe Mbemba first, and I would beat the Costa just saying.
But both of them could be trying to save face. You know what I mean? It could be a bit of both on both of them at that point.
Sure. Sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it doesn't work. Like the Mbemba transfer ended up working, but it didn't work the first year or so that he was with them, right? Or the first 6 months. I don't remember. But he wasn't like a crucial player for them anyway.
I think he got injured. He was at Newcastle. He was out for like a really long time. Like probably like an ACL and MCL, and I think he just took quite a while to come back from that. But quickly, because I know we've gone for quite a while, I just wanted to ask Peter and obviously you guys a question, but mainly directed at the Benfica fans. So in the press conference, Schmidt came out and responded, in my opinion, badly to a question that was asked of him. And I think it was a fair question to ask. He sort of responded how Jurgen Klopp responds to every other question in the Premier League.
Yeah, but I don't like Jurgen either.
From a Benfica perspective, Peter, what were your thoughts on how Schmidt answered the question?
I am going to be honest with you. I've listened to his response, but I didn't listen to the question fully. So I only have like half of the side. But either way, I don't think that that the way that he worded it was right. Like if he wants to protect himself and the team, which I feel like he kind of deserves to do that because he's been under so much duress and some of it doesn't totally make sense. He should have worded it in a way like we're not, like, for example, we're not at fault for Porto having a player sent off and Sporting having a player sent off. We play our game and we do what we're supposed to do. We win, blah blah blah. Him saying that is kind of like a Sergio Conceição type of answer, but then it also leads the question as to why do they do a comunicado, as you guys say, about Schmidt, but no comunicado when Sergio Conceição does all the BS that he does. But either way, as a Benfiquista, I'm not happy with the answer. I feel like he has every right to defend himself, especially from the way that the media has been treating him recently. I just don't think that he went about it the right way, and I would assume that if he was able to get that answer back, he would have said something completely different than what he
Yeah,
did.
because I guess in heat of the moment as well, obviously big win, and then you get asked a question like that. I can understand from like a heat of the moment question, you might just be like, come out with something you don't mean. But yeah, Richard, did you have any thoughts on what he said?
Yeah, I think Peter kind of nailed it on the head. I just thought it was like unnecessarily a little hostile. I get he's been under pressure, but it's like there's no need to jump down a poor reporter's throat for what I didn't think was the worst. It wasn't the best question, but it was far stupider and more egregious questions have been asked in press conferences, and far calmer answers have been given. I just think it was unnecessarily hostile from him. And it was like, there's no need for that behavior, man. Like, just relax a little. And yeah, I think if he probably had a bit more time to process, he probably would have maybe given a better answer. Maybe would have been a bit calmer. But what's done is done.
Yeah, and I feel like it does depend on the manager because, like, for example, if Mourinho says something like that, everyone's like, "Oh, what?"
We've come to expect it from Mourinho, right?
Mm. And even Conceição to an extent as well. I feel like that's something he would probably answer as well.
Klopp just whines all the time, so that's why no one likes him anymore. Klopp's just like, we play too many. We got to be in every competition, but then the next week we're playing too many games. Like, brother, make up your mind. Like, what do you want? Like that's why I get pissed with Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah, definitely. But Sergio, did you have any thoughts on Roger Smith's comments at the end of the game?
I think it's just antagonizing, basically, from him. I mean, he's starting to show some of that attitude that he had in Holland, right? Or the Netherlands. I think some of the fans there, the PSV fans, used to say that wait until the second and third year, then you'll start hating him because he gets annoying. So he's starting to he's starting to go there. So I don't think it was warranted, the comment about maybe a Porto or Sporting fan, but I can see why he's annoyed because the media has been basically going after him the last couple of weeks and saying, how there's stuff in the background happening, in the dressing room. So I think that was just his way of venting. Let's just be honest. The Benfica did not win because of tactics, on Sunday. Yeah. Right. So I think it antagonized him when that question came up and he just threw it right at him. I don't think it was a right response, but I can understand why he's saying it because he's basically pissed off or angry at that people keep throwing it at him, that clearly his tactics are not hitting right now. So, I can see why he was pissed, but I just don't think it was the nicest thing to say. But then again, the Portuguese media is, sometimes can be assholes. So maybe it is warranted from that perspective.
Yeah. And to be fair with Schmidt, I think he also does something that a lot of people don't, which is actually take ownership of the mistakes. I don't know if you guys pay too much attention to his pressers, but they're usually quite short anyway. They're like 5 to 6 minutes. But after
you should hear Marcus Edwards if you want. Sure,
you want a quick, efficient time management style answer. Interview Marcus Edwards.
But Schmidt gets asked questions about Benfica's performance and all that, and he actually he usually says like we didn't do what we were supposed to do. This strategy didn't work. Well, and sometimes I can't quite from the top of my head remembers something specific, but I know that a lot of Benfica pages that I follow say something, for example, like Schmidt said this, and then they like elaborate in what he meant and what it actually, and it was something that transpired during the game. So he's actually usually very open about the mistakes that he makes. So I think it was most likely the heat of the moment thing. You beat Sporting 2-1 in 4 minutes. It's the emotions are running high. Everybody's been counting you out,
Yeah.
even though you're basically only being trashed in the Champions League, which of course matters. It matters, but if you take out the Champions League, I mean, you're first in the league, and you were second before that. You're in every other competition that you can be in. So it's kind of like doesn't make a lot of sense anyway to even put those kinds of negative clouds among Schmidt. So I think that everything kind of just like when you keep eating things, leaving them inside, and then you just sort of like explode. I think that was pretty much what happened. He just sort of exploded because of everything that had been going
But
through.
Yeah.
I'll say this about the Portuguese league. I mean, that was probably the least most antagonistic post game that I have seen in a derby or Clasico in years. Like neither the managers were up in arms and pissed off and they're throwing the referee under the bus. I mean, Ruben Amorim accepted it, moved on, said, you know what, it is what it is. It's football. It happens. We'll work on these mistakes. We'll work on it. And then the game's not, or the campionat's not over. There's a lot of company ahead of us. Let's not get too bummed out of it. Let's move on, right? Whereas if this had happened a couple weeks ago with the Clásico with Porto and Benfica, and Porto had lost 2-1 in the same fashion, Sérgio Conceição would have been post game shitting on the ref, saying how Porto was the greatest team of all time. He would have been basically throwing everybody else under the bus and then some. And it's night and day, completely night and day. Whereas Ruben Amorim, classy, professional. You know what? It is what it is. It happened. We move on. Obviously the sending off affected the team, but we'll get them next time is basically what he said. It wasn't a typical Portuguese presser at the end of the game. I'll just say that. It was very calm from both sides. And like, I think it was Cristiano who said that. There are Christian who said that, where's the comunicado? Like, there was no comunicado from Sporting. Usually there's the losing team, whoever it is, throws out a big comunicado saying, we got robbed by the referee, and look at all these things. Like Benfica did that the last time, Porto did that last time, and nothing. It's been the most quietest post game of a derby or a Clásico in years, don't you think, guys? Like it's just weird. It seems like
Maybe
everybody was
it's
ready
I'm
due
not
to the
necessarily
right.
upset about that because I'm sick of just the extracurricular like you said. The media is very, very toxic in Portugal, so I don't mind there not being a lot of extracurricular media shenanigans.
I don't mind it. I just tend to think that the reason that there isn't is probably more nefarious than not.
And we're too conditioned to it. That's why.
Yeah. Maybe they're joining they're joining in the writer's strike, so they're trying to be in solidarity with them.
We're too used to like just stupid shit happening that when things are just kind of what everybody else would perceive as normal. We're like, wait, what's going on? Where it's just we don't know how to
and Sporting always has the line. I mean, to be fair, they do have the right to say this. They'd be like, release the audio. We're the only ones that want to release the audio,
of course.
And no one else want to release the audio, but we want to release the audio. So nothing. It's crazy.
Yeah. The only thing it is weird seeing how, like Sergio said, I don't think Ruben Amorim has ever criticized the referee. Maybe he said like a thing or two, but that's never his first port of call.
He doesn't open with that. It's not his opener.
Yeah, exactly. But then Sporting itself, straight away after his press conferences, more so Miguel Braga last year was just straight away just like, oh, have you seen this Porto this? Like we said, mostly Porto than Benfica. But I guess that is due to the sort of suing from Pedro da Costa to Varandas, and I guess that's probably why there's more hatred there. But I guess that's it. But Danny, since you're back, what are your thoughts on the Schmidt's comments at the end of the game, saying was he asked this question by a Benfica or Porto fan?
Yeah, okay, that's funny that you guys are talking about that, but I mean, I don't make too much of that. It just seems like bitterness. It seems like I mean, I don't know where Sergio or Peter fall on like the Schmidt in or out brigade that I feel like Benfica fans have like slowly been creeping, especially this year. Which I don't think. I think he at least for this season. I don't know what the impatience is, but I get it. I think it's just like more so like just a lack of confidence, or a lack of not really. I don't really know what the word is, but I guess he's not willing to take any sort of criticism because he can't even like see himself. I mean, both Peter and Sergio sort of said that throughout the maybe after the first 20 minutes of the game, Benfica went stale and they're playing at home. They're playing for not really playing for their lives, but it kind of felt like that at the time. And had those last 2 minutes not happened, they could have been 6 points back, and we're talking about a different thing. And maybe even the Schmidt out people are even louder. So maybe that's why he said it. But maybe he's just not used to, or he's sort of acclimatizing, I guess, to Portuguese football, which is nice because that's a Tuga response at the same time,
Yeah,
So
for sure.
It's a very Portuguese response.
So I want to say one thing, and then I kind of want to answer Danny if you guys have time. But I want to say that one of the reasons why I think that everything was so unusual, it was because this also happened for the first time in history. And I don't mean to rub this in on you guys, but Benfica and Sporting, the derbies, nobody had ever tied a game and won it, in the final moments. So I also think that the situation was so strange that even Amorim kind of like was. He just admitted that it's football. It happened. That's basically what he said in the presser, right? And I think that's true. I think that he was just 2 plays and we score. That was it. There's not much to justify that. But to answer about the Schmidt in or out, I'm still Schmidt in, and I've been that way. But my criticism towards him has been the same since last season. So I'm staying consistent with the fact that I believe that he takes too long to make substitutions. He also needs to learn that if you're a coach for Benfica, it's great that you have the mentality of we're gonna play this way, but you also need to watch who you're playing and think, okay, if we can't do this, then maybe we actually do that, but we just maintain the same kind of attitude. Like when we played PSG to win the game, and there was something that if you watch Sporting, if you watch Porto and Benfica, a lot of the times we try and sit back. We don't try and fight for the result. And I thought that Schmidt actually started to bring that type of mentality again. But you also need to read the opponent. So if they're not going to allow you to do this, then you need to find ways to work around that. You can keep the same winning mentality. It just because you're adapting doesn't mean that you're losing who you are. And last season he didn't have as many options, and this year he does. Not to the midfield. I still think that we only have one defensive midfielder, and that's absurd. But if you look at the Sergio sitting there. But if you look at if you look forward, we have Guedes, you have Casper, and you have Thiago Veia. So he has opportunities to let guys play more, and he just doesn't do that. Catch came in the 87th minute, and João Mario was a player that to me at the halftime, even before that, he was gone because he just wasn't performing. He wasn't giving anything to the team. So like, why keep a guy in that isn't doing absolutely nothing? And you can see that he's bringing nothing. I could understand Di Maria, and that's why when I sent Sam the text, I said Di Maria can spark magic at any time because that's Di Maria. He has a different pedigree than João Mario, right? And I also think that Schmidt has this issue where because Casper, I've been a fan of his. I actually known him before he came to Benfica, and I think that he suffers from the fact that he plays 5 or 10 minutes as a striker, behind the striker, left wing, right wing. How are you supposed to build a connection with the rest of your team if you're only playing 5 to 10 minutes in 4 different positions? Like, how can you show yourself? It's just not possible. So I think that if Schmidt just adapts a little bit in a way that the team, how he's supposed to build the team, and just substitutes more and more often, I think that he's going to do just fine. But if he keeps on acting the way that he has, then things are going to quickly running to the ground. And last season, it's people are saying that, oh, Enzo this, Enzo that. Even with Enzo, we had the same issues. People don't remember that we beat Casapia 1-0 in Leiria barely. We scraped by Paços de Ferreira at home 3-2, I believe, something
Yeah,
like
but you're
that.
not gonna play lights out,
Every
Right,
game.
but those
I'm with you,
game.
no,
right?
yes, Sergio, but those are
But
games
we
that
are
we
missing. We
that
are
we
missing key pieces, though, right? Like we didn't really
Yeah.
replace Grimaldo like we should have. We never have addressed that Enzo missing piece, and now Gonçalo Ramos is being missed, right? So those
Yeah.
are three big. So I'm still Roger Smith in until you guys fire Ruben Amorim, because then I'm gonna take him. Because he's got a throne waiting for him here at the Luge. But he's missing some key pieces. Like Benfica are missing some key pieces. Now let's see if Kokshu comes back and he proves his big price tag. But we need help on the wings. We absolutely need help. He needs help on the wings. And I don't know what happened there, but Artur Cabral, who the fuck convinced Rui Costa to buy that fucking picanha? Like, what the fuck?
He was doing his old club a favor, let's be honest. Fiorentina was like, we need some money, and he was like, okay.
But mind you, though, the guy that we were supposed to buy, the River Plate player, who ended up going to Fiorentina, hasn't been playing well anyway. So whatever.
Yeah, he scored like one goal.
But everyone talks about how we missed out on Gimenez, right, from Feyenoord. We weren't going to buy him. 40 million. Who the fuck is going to buy him for 40 million? So I'm still Roger Schmidt in, but I'm in until Ruben Amorim quits at Sporting and comes over to us.
But Ruben Amorim won't downgrade to Benfica, bro. Come on, man. He's going to leave us for a higher European pedestal.
He wants to go to his
green
club.
On the outside, but red on the inside.
Yeah, 100%.
He's just ripening his.
He's a nice little watermelon, bro.
Yeah,
he's like Richard right now with the Nigerian shirt, more like it, bro. Richard fell off rice, bro.
I had a Canada shirt. I'm like, no, that's a man.
Too much red.
I can't have this red shit on. We got Benfica guys coming on the podcast. Change it to something green.
As an outsider, if I could just quickly give my 2 cents on what I think is also went wrong on Benfica. I think Sergio, you hit the spot on the head with the especially not replacing Gonçalo Ramos, because you guys really pressed a lot from the front last year.
Yeah,
with Ramos. I think it's also not being mentioned enough. Your injuries, right? Because Kokshu and shit like that, they've been out, and Di Maria was out for a little while as well. Another thing is, it's not, and he's done well. I'm not saying he hasn't, but it's not easy to have like a turmoil at goalkeeping in the beginning of the season either, and then play the kid, and then now play Turbin. So I think that's also, what we've seen, the slow start to Benfica. So. Yeah. I mean, hey, long may it continue, in my opinion. But I think that's what went wrong earlier, at least. Yeah. But now all is good. You guys won in 2 minutes, so all is well. So no need to address it anymore.
I think the football gods gave
sometimes all you need is 2 minutes.
The football gods seem to give everybody a solid one solid a year. They gave you guys a solid with the phantom goal at the beginning of the year with the VAR, right? They gave us this solid by winning this game, and now Porto's do a solid too, right? So I think we're done with solids.
Probably against us.
Probably against one of us.
There's going to be another more
I mean,
if I see João Pinheiro refereeing that game, I'm just not going to watch.
We're done. Whereas if it's João Pinheiro or Artur Suarez Diaz, I'm not even wasting my time.
But I will say, Porto is not the same without Otávio, right? So, and if Pep is injured as well, I would think.
I think Uribe is also an underrated loss for them as well.
And he walked away for free as well, right?
Yes.
Another freebie. Like, I don't get that team. Everybody wants, but like, Sporting goes into that match as the favorites. Absolutely, they're the favorites. So you got to think that Cedric Conceição is going to do anything and everything to motivate that team to stick it to you guys, right? So, but they're missing that spark with Otávio, right? And so if there's any perfect time to beat Porto, it would be this year. I don't remember Benfica winning both the Clásico and the Derby in the Primera Ronda, I think that's the first time in a couple decades. Like, it's been a long time since we've done that. We always usually stumble between, one of the teams. But if there's any year to beat Porto, it would be this year, because I don't think they're there this year.
And we need
I
to,
really
because
I think
that is a
Amorim's
massive-
winless in his last
That's
10.
what I was going to
Yeah.
say. Yeah. He's
Yeah.
never beaten Sergio Conceição in the league, so that is another thing.
But
for
Rui
us to
Vitória
cover.
never beat Porto in the league, and he ended up winning once, right?
Yeah.
Clock is right twice a day. Is that what they say? So
Yeah.
eventually Ruben Ruiz
Broken
Hey,
clock
but
is
Ruben-
right
Hey.
twice, 3 times a day.
That's
But
it.
Ruben owned. Sorry to cut you guys off, but
No, no.
Ruben owned Sergio Conceição when he was at Braga.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They-
Yeah.
They were great. Ruben Amorim played at the, and I remember that game perfectly. That Braga won. I don't remember the score, but I remember the way that Braga played. High pressing. Porto were not able to play in their own stadium. So if Ruben Amorim just needs to figure out how to do it as a Sporting coach, because with Braga they were tremendous. I think they might have actually beaten Porto more than once actually with him. So.
Yeah. Even when Amorim first came in, like in his first full season, we drew to Porto, which, to be fair, should have been a win if you look at referee decisions. But we could say that for any game in the league in history.
We drew the
And
Porto
then-
4 times in the league that season.
Yeah, but I was going to say we beat them in the Test of the Liga because of
Yes.
Jovan FC in the last. We got speaking about last minute goal.
Sicko, Bobble Jovan went sicko.
Yeah.
Bro. That's why.
We're speaking about last minute goals for Benfica. Jovan came in with 5 minutes to go and scored twice. So I mean,
Exactly.
it happens.
Benfica again, just wanting to be Sporting by just
By imitating,
doing what we
right?
did like years ago. The only thing on Porto that I'll say, and then my quick 2 cents, is no matter how bad they are or how bad they are on paper, it doesn't matter. They find a way.
They find a way. They grind.
Clásicos are always different. Derbies are different. Like, you can be like, look at you guys that clinched the title, practically clinched the title, come into the Luge, and we start beating you guys like 3-0.
and then we
like,
almost died that game.
It's just so weird. And you guys were going into undefeated into that match.
Yeah,
Can you
you
imagine
guys
an
screwed up
undefeated
our
season?
Invincibles year. Yeah.
I know. Can you imagine going undefeated and beating the shit out of us at our own stadium? Mind you, there was nobody in the stands, but like
Still.
it was crazy, right? So you never know. Like, it's a different mentality, but I think Porto's missing that X factor in Otavio now, and they've never really replaced them. They say Varela's replacement, but no, Otavio's a piece of shit. Like, he gets under your skin.
He's a
so
shit.
much.
They have Chico.
He's
now.
annoying. He's
And they've got
annoying.
plenty of guys like that in that team, but he was different. He's built
He's
differently. and
he's
they're
shit
missing
house.
him.
That's what he is.
I think
Nah, watch
that
where his
also-
son. His son's gonna be the new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His son's
asshole.
always been like that. But I think as well, with Pepe injured and a few players going and Otavio going, they don't have a leader anymore. There's no leader in that
Yeah,
team
they
that
don't
I
have
see.
that
Obviously,
leader. No, that's
Conceição is the leader.
Marcano
No,
is probably the
when he's
closest that you
injured.
have to a leader. I think Marcano.
And then he's out for the season as well. Marcano's
Yeah.
out for the
And then
whole
he's
year.
out
And then
too.
And
Pepe.
Pep's
Yeah,
done.
I
He's just
mean,
gonna keep
That's
getting
gonna be
hurt.
washed. Like he's
Yeah.
getting
He
hurt
just
more
can't
and
stay
more
healthy.
often.
That's the problem. His body's not healing.
But when
yet.
he
It's not a
plays,
question. It's not
when he
a.
keeps
It's not a
unreal.
question of ability with him. It's just his body's just not
Absolutely.
holding up.
He keeps
anymore.
running back and coming back from injury too quick. Like, he's obviously not
Yeah.
ready to come back. And then obviously it just sets him off for longer. Being the age he is, it's going to take him longer to recover. So maybe this might be the last
Exactly.
season of Pepe anyway. But
And low key,
Yeah.
Eustaquio, just because of the three of us here, Eustaquio's been balling this season. Has
He's
to
been
also
playing
be
well.
said.
He's their leader at this point. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
At
would
this
say
point,
so.
I think Stocker's their leader, right? Which is not good from that.
Not
perspective.
not.
I don't think you
ideal,
want him to
but-
be your leader at this point because I think you're
Yeah.
used to seeing. I'm not saying Stocker doesn't have quality, but like they're missing some pieces in that squad. And if there's ever been a time to beat Porto, the Dragão would be this year, especially for Sporting, because like I said before, until this match, the Sporting's been pretty consistent. I mean, I remember sending Danny a message. I'm like, Daddy, I'm betting on Sporting beating Estrella. They're down 2-0. I don't care.
Thank you, brother.
Take it.
It was
Take
2-1.
You know,
Thank you,
I bet
brother.
like-
I made some
and
good. You
winning-
tweeted
I made
it,
37
and I
bucks. I'm like,
followed.
fucking
I made some good
I'm like,
money. Thank you, brother.
There's no way Estrella's gonna beat you guys at the Alvalade, and when you guys turn around and you beat them 3-2. Like Sporting is probably you guys. I know all three of the teams are playing as well, but I'm telling you, Sporting is probably the most consistent of the three teams. You've only really dropped points against Braga and Benfica, really.
Yeah.
And the key to winning this title, it's a marathon. It's not dropping points against the lesser teams, against the smaller teams. And so far, that Sporting's accomplished that. right? So that's why I still think that they're still the favorites somewhat to be the title winners this year. Sporting is.
Yeah, and on that note, we're talking about betting. These guys know that when Porto were losing to Estoril, I was like, "There's no way Porto's going to lose." 10 times Porto lost.
Hindsight's the hindsight.
Benfica were drawing to
That up, bro.
Casapia. Benfica were drawing to Casapia. I put 10 on Benfica. No way Benfica are drawing, and they lost and they drew. And I was like, I just need to keep betting. Obviously,
Keep
I'm
it
losing
up.
money,
You
but
keep that in
these
mind,
guys
Adam.
lose a point.
Keep it up.
Yeah, that's the best tender you've ever lost. No.
If it costs you money for us to win something, I don't give a shit. It's not my money.
It's not your money.
Also,
Yeah.
just again, also on betting, I was kind of conflicted because I did bet the over, and it was over 2 goals. So the third went in,
So you want?
and
you
it came
made
to the
money,
back
but
of my
I'm
mind. But it was a part of a parlay. So
3-0.
I'm not even that
You've-
happy. Like fuck
You've
it.
won, but at what cost?
Yeah.
But
But then I ended up winning the parlay, so I'm
we're
like,
gonna
okay,
do
sick.
another 3-0 at the Luge, right? So you're probably thinking that way. You're probably thinking another 3-0 to Benfica lá.
Yeah.
We're gonna beat the crap out of
I was
them. That's probably
I was
your
thinking a
thinking, right?
2-1. I just thought, a Dana net. There's a smeller coming, but I thought we can maybe score
Something
2,
will
right?
happen.
I got the wrong team.
Yeah,
I think I had 2-1 as well. Actually, now that I think about it, but
yeah.
I had the wrong
I
team.
had
I had the wrong
1
team.
all. I wasn't as
Yeah,
convinced
I had
as
a
you
draw.
guys.
Yeah.
I had a draw going into this
Oh,
match.
well. Shit
But yeah.
happens.
But yeah, I guess that's a good place to end it. We've been going just over 2 hours, so it's been eventful. We got a lot of stuff off the board, so it was all good. Once again, I just want to say thank you to both Sergio first, who you can follow down the bottom left there. Thank you for coming on, Sergio, and of course Peter as well. Thank you for coming on as well. Appreciate you both for taking the time out and providing us. There was no sort of arguments. We've kept it civil, which is unusual.
If only everybody could keep it as civil as we do.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and of course, make sure you get to follow these guys as well. You can follow Chris there. You can follow Danny here. You can follow myself there. Follow Richard there. But most importantly, make sure you follow all things Alvalade on Spotify, all the podcast platforms, and all social media platforms. We are there. But yeah, other than that, thank you guys for watching. See you next time, and peace.